Backwards. I dare you to walk backwards. I mean, just for kicks, it's a Mercury retrograde. You could try to walk backwards. It's actually really good for your equilibrium to practice this stuff in the park. There's other Mercury retrograde things you can do. Call an ex at 3 a.m. Send a drunk email. You didn't hear that from me. I'm not telling you to do that, okay? Disclaimer. Mel, what's a Mercury retrograde remediation? What'd you do?
I'm just confused.
Yeah, that's a given, isn't it? Like,
I'm
for
still
everybody?
confused. When won't I be confused?
Yes. You know, it's good to meet you up here in the clouds, Mel. My wings, your wings.
Where are we?
We're high in the sky. We're really effing high in the sky. And, you know, it's been a while since we've seen each other up here. Looking down at those humans that look like ants. They do look confused. What do you say? You think we can help them out?
We can help.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You're always good. You're always good for the mission there, Mal. As whenever we run into each other, it's like this winged life that we lead.
I'm on
Little do
board.
they know, it's like smiles on the outside and something else on the inside. You know what I mean? But
Lots on the inside.
yeah. So hey, let's
sign me up.
Yes. Yeah. Little do they know what they signed up for today.
I don't even know.
You don't know. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, Mel. How's it going?
Oh. This is basically my internal dialogue at all times.
Yeah, how's it going, everybody? I gotta keep people watching. I see people on my YouTube right here. I want to say,
yeah.
I don't know, Mel. You see the chat? You can pop up here. We can read the chat through our interface. It's up there. I see Aaron as an ARIN. I think Aaron might be on your channel, maybe. Mel,
are we? We're still on the loop.
what are you looking at, Mel?
What am I? I'm listening to the loop. I'm listening to the loop that is going.
Oh, you still hear the music. You still
and
this.
going.
Ah, I see. I see. Should be gone. Yeah, Mel's in the chat here on your channel. Or Aaron is. Arin. Hi, Aaron. How are you? I see Stephanie in my channel. Good to see you. Oh, Stephanie says, "What's up, Mel?" It's Stephanie from Berlin. Does that ring a bell? No?
I
You're
I'm
still
still
hearing things?
hearing the loop.
Like the music loop?
No, the chat loop of us talking.
Oh, really?
This is hilarious.
Yeah, I don't hear it. Like I just hear you.
Oh my goodness.
Do what you
Why
got to
am
do. Do what you got to do. Okay, see, welcome to a Mercury retrograde live stream like we promised. We're right into it with some mercurial activities. While you do that, Lily, I see
Oh,
you. Lily
I
899, I see
figured it
you in
out.
chat. You got it? I see you in chat. Who else am I in chat here? It's in my thing.
Stephanie. Stephanie used to live here in San Diego. You know, she's a wonderful gal. You know what what was going wrong? Oh my gosh.
What was going wrong?
So none of you people heard what I heard because we're on our streaming platform, right? And I have YouTube up too, but I didn't realize that I had the sound on YouTube.
Oh, and it's
So it
delayed.
was creating this like loop of, yes, that's so funny.
Yeah, because whenever I stream, Mel, I'm always checking YouTube if the stream's going through, and I have to remember to pause it. I could see it, but pause the sound because of what happens. And this is a prime example of a total retrograded moment. It makes me think about people who are having conversations like they heard something and the other person keeps talking and they're like stuck on something else the other person said, and then the other person keeps talking and then the other person is still looping. It's like, did they just say that to me? And then the other person's like blah 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 blah, and then like the other person's still stuck on what the person said a paragraph ago. And yeah, so anyway,
too funny. What a way. Mercury's already speaking. It's like,
yeah, this was all planned. So
of course,
it's all planned. I want to say hi to Lily 899 in chat. Patrick, what's up? Patrick says Mercury RX just means that you can't handle the truth. James Sanders, hello. Titian X, good to see you here. Jendi, hi Jendi, along with Scorpio Muse. These people on my YouTube channel. Who else we got jumping in? A Go is here. Stephanie King, Darlene, I see you. I see you in chat. Jan Halverson said Mercury retrograde. Yes, it is. Yes. And by the way, Mel, can you see the restream chat in our panel?
I do see the restream chat. It's coming in. It's doing its thing. I still can't type to it. I can't go direct, but I see it.
Oh, really?
Up.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
But I see it. I see these folks. Thank you for joining us here on this lovely afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. It's the next day, maybe in Australia, if you're all the way over there.
There are people who watch from Australia on this channel. They live in the future, Mel. They live in the future. Like basically, they're living at the same transits, but if they're already somewhere else on the Thursday, we would say we're doing the stream on Mercury Day, right, a Hermes Day, but they're doing it on Jupiter Day, so it still counts, considering what this damn stream's going to be about.
I mean, Jupiter is in Mercury's sign right now. They're just two peas in a pod.
Yeah, two peas in a pod, two minds in a pod.
Two big minds.
I see Karen Hansen in chat, Megan Omadal, Isha. Wow, I got everybody dropping in. That's awesome. Lucy Fur, Pierre B. Grateful Gale says Happy Odin's Day. Aaron. Darlene. Okay. All right. There's people here. All right. Good. I think we're done. Stream's over. I think
we're done.
We demonstrated.
Hey, we've lasted this long. It's a Mercury miracle.
We demonstrated Mercury retrograde. I didn't sleep the last 48 hours, Mel.
What? Why? I have slept. Okay, I have had the best sleep in the last 48 hours, and my sleep has been shit lately. But tell me, why aren't you sleeping?
I just too much on my mind.
Oh.
Too much on my mind. And when I have hit dream mode,
Mm-hmm.
they have come to me. And when I say they as in the representatives of who I am back then, now, and who I will be.
Mm.
And so the dreams have not been restful. They've been very, very clear, actually. So, but that's why I haven't gotten any sleep. And so, wait, is this real? Are we? This is
Oh,
real,
you're
right?
on a journey. You're on a journey. You know what? Fun fact.
Yeah.
Nicholas is in my dreams a lot.
What?
You do. You show up in my dreams a lot for various scenarios. But you show up. You are a reoccurring cast in my nightly journeys.
Do I like come in being a smart ass? Like, well, like I mean, that's how I'm living in real life.
No, I wouldn't say you're ever a smart ass. Because it takes one to know one. So maybe I don't pick that up.
I need the drum. Boom, boom, boom. I need that sound effect. All right. So,
yeah. I'm trying to think of like different scenarios. Yeah. I wish I could. You're just you come in and you're main character, or maybe I'm trying to find you, or you're in town for some reason, or I'm going to your town, and yeah, you tend to show up. So
you tend to show up. Oh, that's
you tend to show up.
Mel, that's what I hear all the time. You tend to show up, but when I'm in your dreams, does this happen? Like, does it go like that? Mel. Hello. And do I rattle off numbers like 23, 77, 88?
I wish maybe I'd be rich by now.
Yeah, those are exactly. See, you already know.
I know. It looks like Scorpio Muse also dreamt about Nicholas this morning.
What the?
It was it was about turning into a live stream like this.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's let me catch chat here because people said they were also having sleep oddness, jacked up. Can't sleep my whole life, Ryan says. Hi, Ryan, by the way. Suitable desk, I see you. K Michelle too. Darlene says I slept like a hibernating bear last 3 nights, which is rare. I'm like,
yes, I'm with you. I don't know what it is. I mean, I just got over the sickness.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, you're just coming out. So
yeah.
Patrick
I'll
says
take that
clearly a dream if Nick isn't popping out some snark. Yeah, see, somebody knows me around here. Yeah, so hey, okay. What the hell is happening today? Oh, I know what's happening today. Do you know what's happening today, Mel?
I mean, what? I'm like, what isn't happening today? Everything's happening all at once. What's happening? Tell me.
There is this this new game that came out. Is this my gaming channel? Or is this my astrology channel?
Are we on Twitch?
Oh shit. I have a stream over on Twitch. Listen, Mel, you're here for the next 2 hours by yourself. I'm gonna go play this game over on Twitch. I have about 2 followers over there, but I gotta make sure they're cool. Or I won't do that.
I got you. You go. You go abandon us. There, you can.
For a second, Mel, the way that bottle looked like this. Dude, hold up the bottle like you're drinking it. Well, the side, like it looked like a Budweiser can to me, and I was like, for a second, like a Budweiser tall bottle, and I was like, damn, Mel, like that's some serious.
I'm getting lit here. Wednesday afternoon. I just got through the moon squaring Saturn and opposing Mars and Jupiter. I gotta let it off somehow.
Mel, you came to the right place. I don't really drink, but I think half the people who watch my channel when I'm doing my streams, I think they're drinking. And I also think they're smoking herb and shit. I'm not kidding. That's why I do these intros, because I think they just come for that. Some of
I
them.
wouldn't doubt it.
And by the way,
Well,
I'm seeing in chat.
It's not alcohol. It is agua de kefir. Postbiotics. I don't know what postbiotics are. Electrolytes and minerals. It's cultured hydration with a cactus.
Postbiotics.
Postbiotics, not pre.
That is some shit right there.
Pro.
But
post.
I've never heard of that before.
Me either, but I bought it. They got me. They sucked me in.
I want to acknowledge Jendi in our chat watching, because Jendi, it's your birthday today, so happy birthday. Can't leave the Leos out.
Nope.
Ever.
Dangerous.
Even though it's one of my favorite things to do, is to purposely leave them out. But we're not. And but interesting that we talk about this, because Mel, today, as you know, Mercury went back into Leo here. Oh, actually, no, it hasn't.
Not yet. Not yet. You're jumping the gun.
Stream. It might happen on the stream at 5:15 Pacific.
At 5:15, that's the Pacific magic number.
Yeah. But yeah, happy birthday, Jendi. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jendi.
Yeah. Mel, do we take a look visually at what the hell is going on?
We can. Let us just tell you what it took to get this stream here to you today.
Yeah, what did it take, Mel?
We went on a mutable journey of when you got big ideas.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Sometimes it can be frustrating to deal with what reality actually has available for you.
Yep.
That I'm just gonna leave it at that. But
listen,
I think
Mel, the thing about this is, when what we're trying to do, and then like reality is the whole thing. I think of the world now. It's like Mars, Jupiter, and Gemini, right? We got this Mercury retrograde, but it's like we could make it whatever the hell we want. And I think people are doing that anyway. Like I think what reality is, because then you'll talk to people who are like, oh, they're dealing with what reality is, and most people are running away from that right now, right? So, so they're just,
which is not always bad. I mean, there's a double-edged sword to escaping what is and escaping what is.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, it's the balance going back and forth, right? But it's another thing here. That's a mercurial way of doing things, is what Mercury or Hermes does by going back and forth, by it's pretty much in the underworld right now, going towards this centered place that's going to happen on Sunday. We'll talk about that, about the Mercury Sun conjunction, but the ability to do this. Yeah, but sometimes we know some people, they get stuck in one of those places and don't come to the other place or go back and forth. So yeah.
Someone's telling us what postbiotics is, so I got to stop and read that. Lucy says
I've
nutrients.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, me either. That's why I'm like, gosh, my Gemini planets want to know. Nutrients such as vitamins B and K, amino acids, and antimicrobial peptides that slow the growth of harmful bacteria. So that bad stuff that gets in your gut. And the gut is linked with the mind.
Yes. No, it is. God, I should have got like a double cheeseburger for this stream. I should to take care of that, to take care of those postbiotics that are trying to make me healthy.
Oh, God forbid.
Yeah, forget. I'm going to say what's up to Susie Lemke, who also had a birthday here. And I see all the Leos, it's their birthday month, so it doesn't matter when it is. It could be.
So it's the whole month.
It's the whole month. It's the whole month. Jay Quinn M, I see you in chat too. Just pointing out some people here that I see. You know what? Let's try one of the things we worked on. Let's see if this even works. Does it? Let me see this. I think I got it right here. Does it work? Yes. But how come we're not on the overlay? Because we do like this. Hey.
Oh, that's one option.
That's one thing, right? Huh. Mel, can you see that?
The chart?
Yes.
I mean,
It's not the best.
enough.
You see it enough?
I see it enough.
You see
I'm all,
it
this
enough.
isn't what we set up yesterday, but I
No,
got
it isn't.
I got enough to get by. And you know what? I got a big chart over on my screen too that even if I can't see it, I can see it.
Oh yeah, and if you want to do that, we can somehow do that. Does that make sense?
No,
What I
we're
just
good.
said?
We're good. Tell us what's up. Tell us what's up with this chart.
Yeah, we're gonna try some technology here. I just gotta get my bearings because I'm not using my normal software. Aaron, my birthday's next week, 29 degrees Leo. Well, this is a big day for you, Aaron, because Mercury's is hitting that place. Hey, look at right here is Mercury. Since we're talking about Mercury, can we see that? Yeah, that I just circled the sun. Wait a second now. I have to do this all over again. I have to do this all over. I see something that is not happening, right? So I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do something else. Here it is, Mel. It's happening. The weirdness. Okay.
Guaranteed weirdness on this stream today.
Yeah.
Just FYI, if you're
all right,
if
there it
here,
is.
you're in for that.
There's this little guy right there, and we're gonna go like as big as I can, right? There, right? And then I'm waiting for my iPad to show me this damn thing, and it won't do it. Let's see. Look at it's pointing an arrow to there, and it doesn't. I see. By the way, it says redo the stroke, whatever that means. I'm gonna eye this out.
It makes me think of that Billy Squire song. Do you remember that song from the early 80s?
Stroke
it's like
me.
Stroke
me.
Stroke me.
Stroke me.
Stroke.
Yeah.
It's all about the music business and how messed up it is. And
that's what that song's all about?
Yeah. If you listen to the song, it's all about like you have to, grease the wheel of the system and play by their rules in order. So, yeah. Little fun fact.
There's Mercury, Mel, right there at 0 degrees. And we know here in about an hour it's going to go into Leo. We're pointing out here this stream of the Mars Jupiter conjunction that happened officially at 8:21 a.m. today.
Oh my goodness. Stephanie's bringing up a different song, which is even better, actually.
Yeah, they're stroking it in the chat.
Stroke it to the west. Stroke it to the one that I love the best. We be stroking. That's what I'll be doing, Clarence Carter. That is a classic right there. Oh, T just asked if we've talked about Uranus yet. We've talked about Mercury. No, we haven't.
We'll hopefully end up there.
Haven't even touched.
That means someone's got 26, 27 degrees fixed in their chart. If they're saying that, they're like something like that. But Mel, here we go. We got Mars Jupiter conjunction in Gemini, ruled by this Mercury right here in Virgo.
Yeah.
Right. And we got to throw in this little person over here, Saturn in Pisces.
That little person, that little guy.
That little guy.
No big deal.
Guy who packs a big punch. And so we're basically looking at this chart, and we're going to look at here, this Sagittarius moon. And if people can't put it together right now, you can kind of see what's happening here. We have a mutable Grand Cross happening. Any thoughts, Mel?
I mean, so many thoughts. I think that's the purpose. It's like a thought. It's like a traffic jam. When you think about grand crosses like that, it's so activating, but it's also just so blocked up for different reasons. I have to say that this whole time, because when you look at, okay, so let me just preface the idea that, Mutable is so split to begin with. As it stands right now when it comes to rulership is very split, but only for what? I don't know, 45 more minutes, as we talked about Mercury moving back into Leo, because all the planets right now are either looking to that Mercury retrograde in Virgo, or they're looking to the sun in Leo. And so we're about to get on the sun's team here in a hot second, which I think is going to be wonderful I mean, give it up to Mercury and Virgo doing its retrograde thing. It's been entertaining to watch. But there's just these two storylines that are going on. Yeah. And so, I mean, I've just been trying to survive in many respects, having been sick recently. And when you're down and you're down for the count, you only got one thing you can do.
And what's that?
Think.
Ah.
You're
Yeah.
in your headspace. You're in all the possibilities. You see where you came from. You see maybe where you want to go. You're very aware of what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's optimism there, and there's also pessimism. It's very Jupiter, Saturn. I want to say thank you, Sagittarius Moon, for being the pressure point in this particular moment, because that gives a little optimism. Have you felt like in the last, today and yesterday versus the Scorpio moon in that first quarter in Scorpio?
Okay. First off, I love Scorpio moon. Okay, so for me, I can't speak for anything else. If a Scorpio moon could go for 5 days, like double the time, I would be for it every single time. But as for what you're saying, the push and pull, the optimism, and the kind of like then the doubt constantly. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm not sleeping. I think a lot of people, it's basically, one can look and think about the Gemini, the relationship to the Gemini and Pisces part of the charts, right? And how this push pull can be happening there, and that's what's happening with me. It branches into beyond that, right? We could say, at least for right now, it could be where all the mutable is in our chart. But for me, I've been doing that going forward, my mind exploding in such great ways, and excited. Me as a Mercury and Gemini, Venus Gemini, Sun and Gemini, but limited, completely limited. And it pisses me off because things are moving rapidly with the ideas, but I want to enact them. And I'm used to enacting in certain ways, but I can't. It's overloaded. I can't enact it, do 2 things at a time, let's say, I'm used to doing. So I'm frustrated, but I'm, at the same time, so
what makes me think of and what you're just saying?
Uh-huh.
If you have prominent Gemini, or you're a fast-paced person,
yes.
You ever be on the computer and your workflow is just bam, bang, bam, boom, boom. You're doing this and doing that, and you got it all going, but the computer just can't keep up with you, and it's stalling, and it's frustrating because maybe the beach ball's going, or a window gets stuck, and then you're trying to or the screen goes black, and so I feel like it's that, where there's just so much. There could be so much energy and ideas and movement put towards something, that Mars Jupiter component. But there's that Saturn that, for whatever reason, is creating that kind of sluggish point. And I think that's good. I mean, being slowed down for a higher purpose that we might not be able to see can be very valuable, but you don't know that in the moment. And I think that's always the lesson of Saturn, especially Saturn and Pisces. I mean, there's very much a spiritual component with Pisces as a sign, but also Saturn.
This goes into the faith part of it, because
yes,
and it's funny here, interesting spot we're in, because it all comes back to Mercury here with all this dispositorship of all this stuff. So we're looking at the Saturn and Pisces is ruled right now by that Jupiter and Gemini with Mars right now. And but again, it's the faith component, and I think it's like, okay, I just got to trust the pacing. I got to slow down. It's keep the optimism, but it's held in a container, and it will happen in due time. Let's just say this due time, it's going to take a year. Okay, it's what I'm telling myself. So it happened in due time, but it's really hard to do, though, to step out like that when your mind is on fire. And by the way, let me say something here, because I have to catch something. I want to say what's up to Canada Dry. in my chat who threw a super chat in. She says, Canada Dry says, amazing live. By the way, let me test the thing we were talking about, Mel. Can I do this? Jendi,
I think it's, go ahead.
Jendi did a super chat there. Okay. Hi, Jendi. I caught that earlier. Gotta make sure I get that. And then I'm gonna find Canada Dry. Thanks, Jendi, by the way. Because this is how I do, on this channel. I stop. I want to do this, and I'm looking for my. I'm looking to do this. By the way, you got there's another thing in chat that I see that I so want to do my Gemini on. Hey, and look at that. See, there's the graphic, Mel. That's what we were talking about last night.
Wingman.
Canada Dry, thanks for the super chat. Amazing live. Thank you, Wingman and Melissa. Thank you, Canada Dry and Jendi. But yeah, having the faith, it's a hard thing to do though when your brain is gone and you're not able to deal. Let me go find this again.
I think it's funny how I was talking about the computer issues, and if you look on the YouTube screen, I am like so pixelated.
Yeah,
so not coming in right now. My bandwidth is shot, but hopefully people can hear my voice.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess Mel, it's about that too. And let me go back. Let's go back to this. It's about that too, Mel. It's if that's a key word I didn't write down on my list here is bandwidth. And I think that's the thing that people have to understand right now if they're feeling overwhelmed or things are overloaded in the mutable parts of your chart. Let's say the Gemini part of your chart or so on and so forth. You're not used to dealing with that is knowing the bandwidth that you do have, right? And you're trying to put too many things in a certain circular pipeline and it's not going to go through. And then there's, foibles and all types of shit. You throw the fact that it's a Mercury retrograde. I think what Saturn is your helper here. And you want to have faith in structure, in the pacing, things slowing down to corral that all together. And if you know astrology and you're watching this, and most of you are watching this, except for one other person who doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, this is the type of thing where you could take the excuse of a retrograde and you don't have to go at a certain pace. Now, some people are stuck in situations where they have to deal with stuff in the moment. There's no way out of it. So can you calm your nervous system down? Can you calm your brain down, which affects your nervous system? Can you take the metaphorical postbiotic to your mind? so to deal with it all, So anyway, let's point this out again. There is this mutable cross that's happening. And the other thing is to go back to what you said in the beginning, Mel, was you can't see it right here, but we're going to do it. Is obviously we're still in the sun in Leo. And today in about 45 minutes, Mercury is going to go into Leo here. And this is the subtlest of shifts, it seems. But what you said in the beginning about two stories, is that what you were saying to me?
Yeah. We're about to all get on. We're all going to need sunglasses here in a second.
Which I will take.
Me too. I mean, so here's the thing. If we're at this point of change, we're talking about all this mutable, adaptive, mutative change that we're under, and it's kind of got that cross energy. And so, like you said, there might not be much to do in this moment. There's a lot of, delay that's happening, and we have to bide our time. One of the listeners said that they got the hanged man, and it's perfect. It's like we have to bide our time. But when we're biding our time and we're on the precipice of where we're going to molt and shift and change, who better to be in charge than a domicile sun? We don't want to change into something that we don't want to be, that's not authentic, that doesn't bring us into our sovereignty. Know what that is. And so I think that's a big part of Mercury going back into Leo, is that Mercury gets to receive that message as it gets shocked by Uranus and our full moon in Aquarius. I know I'm jumping the gun, but that's kind of what I'm thinking here.
No, I dig it, and I guess there's some more support here that happens. When we get to this weekend, into this wildness of the full moon that's going to happen on Monday. But yeah, no, I dig what you're saying, and I like how you brought things back from the way we started talking about this, about the two stories going on, and the domicile aspect of it. Also, one more time, I want to say what's up to Canada Dry, because they just threw another super chat in that said, "With peace and love, Mel is so beautiful. Get it, Queen."
Oh, Canada, you're melting
during
my
the
heart
Leo.
over here.
Yeah, let's just said this during the Leo part of this. You're talking. See, it's hitting the Leo part of you there, Mel.
Yeah, but didn't you say Canada's a Leo?
I didn't say that.
Or no?
I'll let them speak for themselves in chat. But
okay, who did you say was a Leo? I thought it was Canada Dry.
I know things.
Oh.
I know things about the people watching, but I like when they speak for themselves.
Oh, I hear that. I thought you had already said something, so
yeah,
I misunderstood. How about that for another word?
Wait a second, Mel. Are we connecting? We're connected.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're connected.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean the dream thing, and so.
But we have if you want to talk charts real quick.
Yeah, what is it, Mel? What's the degree? I forget.
This is Nicholas. No, this is Nicholas's and I's connection. Well, there's a couple, but one of the big ones is that my ascendant ruler Mars in Gemini on Aldebaran is exactly conjunct Nicholas's domicile Mercury, also on Aldebaran.
Yes.
9 degrees.
9 degrees. So I don't know if you guys know this watching. I think we're going to try to break the record 12-hour stream today. So hope you're ready for that.
My bandwidth can't take it. I'll just be one pixel left by the end.
So yeah, I don't know if you can handle that, but yeah, we do have this Mercury Mars thing going on, Aldebaran, and it's no joke. I was thinking today, Mel, I was thinking on a personal level about like where this is falling. So let's just point this out. Where is this falling? There's this Mars Jupiter conjunction. It's at 16 degrees, right? Gemini.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't have anything exact there, but it's in the middle of my Gemini stuff. But again, it was more of a thing of like, if we don't think about this weekend coming up, okay, anything like that, we're just looking at Mars Jupiter, and it's hard to not think about Saturn in this because Saturn's involved here. But I was just thinking about what this is in a longer term cycle, right? And for me personally, like how do I do my Gemini and what's happening here? And how do I yeah, that's the first reminder, is to take it slow and easy. Like I had to get my corral it together, and that's what I was doing today. And I had some insights. I don't want to see what they are because I'm very superstitious in a lot of ways. So for me, I'm like, I know through the rest of this Mercury retrograde that whatever has been coming up the last 48 hours for me, there is a potential. It's like I'm at the river sifting for gold, and there's just all this junk that comes through while you're sifting, but there's something there and I have to sift through it and find it. And once I do, I don't want to tell anybody about it because it's like, if I say it, if I do it, it's ruined. And so that's me. But for me, I was thinking long-term with it, and that's what the Saturn part is like. What's it going to take from these ideas or these insights or these certain things I have to do for myself? And let's just stick to my sun in Gemini, right? My core self in the next year. What is it going to take? And I don't have to figure out the solution, is what I told myself. I don't need the solution right now. I don't need the thing. All I need is to see what is floating in front of my eyes or in my head or in my world, and just looking at it, I'm like, oh, that. And I'm just going to put that over here. And that's it. That's it. Because what I want to do is scoop it all and take it and do it all at once now and then blast it out publicly. And that's the overload. So, that's for me. So looking at the Mars Jupiter conjunction, it feels intense this week and all that, but I'm thinking long term, right?
So
Yes.
what you're saying, which I love. So right before we got on the stream, I could hear my partner in the back of the house. He was on a call with someone, and he said something that he always says. By the way, my neighbor's dogs are going crazy. But he always starts a sentence with, well, in the end. And I'm like, this is such a mutable phrase to be like, well, in the end. And Mercury and Sag, he has. And it got me thinking to the concept of begin with the end in mind. And I think that this is, especially since we're still having cardinal eclipses, we're getting these mutable hits, we're sort of in between transition, but we're also in these repeated big pushes for beginnings. As we sit and we collect that information, this is what helps us get to the end of where we are, because there's a lot of people's situations right now that life has dried up on them. Or situations have reached their fulfillment, and it is that natural shifting time. So how do we begin with the end in mind? Because there's going to be another end. We're at an end of something, but there'll be another end. And so to know what that end is going to be, we prepare ourselves by looking ahead, taking our time with it, and having a plan. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that is where my mind was at earlier.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Okay, give me an example.
So,
yeah.
Say you're at this place. Okay, I'll give an example of my own life. Sure. Shameless plug.
Mm-hmm.
Shameless plug.
Oh, yeah.
We just, my collaborator, Sarah Jane Lambert, and I just put out a tarot deck called Tarot of Her. And we did the whole Kickstarter thing. We made the whole project. We just fulfilled it. We've been getting good boosts, and the thing is almost sold out, which is exciting. But what do you do next, right? Our inventory has run dry. We could do another edition. We can do another project. But you can't just make decisions being, just be like, oh, let's try this or let's try that. No, we have to collect all these ideas of potentialities, which is a very Geminian, I think that's a word, thing, is potentiality. That's a Jupiter thing. Mercury likes to chew those over. So now we're at, what's the next, where's our next end result?
Yes.
And then that's what I'm saying. Because sometimes we just make moves, but we don't know where we're going or why we're making the move or why we're going there. And so don't move just to move, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no. And you know what? That's a very Mercurial Gemini thing that could happen, because one is so used to moving. It's kind of like when you asked me the question and I had to pause and not say anything. I had to corral it. So I had to stop moving, but I really like, your example is again, I think we live in a world and society where it's things are I don't know how you would say this. Yeah, we're rushed. Everything has to happen at a certain time. Every single bit of time needs to be used, and I don't care how adaptable one is. I'm one of the most adaptable ones out there. You can't. You're human. You get overloaded. And if you're used to being in situations where you can do it, though, you could do things rapidly. You could see the end and do things all at the same time to do this thing. It's like, it's great, but it's just, you can't do that all the time. And then there's those who are not, let's say, of the mutable nature or certain ways of doing things where I could see the overloads happening really quick in today's age and society, but again, I think this comes into a place of intuition for me, really, too, in all this. And I think Mercury doesn't get a break when it comes. If one were to Mel, what do you think? If one were to say what planet and what sign or something has to do with intuition and astrology, you know what I mean? It's like it'd be Jupiter, it'd be Sagittarius or Pisces, you know,
I
like
mean, you have to define what the intuitive function is. I mean, we intuition, it becomes a blanket statement for receiving information. But
right.
intuition is just one way to receive information, which is usually more of a fire-based thing where it just kind of like, lights up, rises to the top, and then versus maybe being psychic about something and like feeling it or having a vision about it or that sense of knowing. Here comes.
You got dogs, you got
I got
sirens,
dogs. I've got
you got
sirens. Yeah. But to answer your question of where that might come from, I feel, God, it's really a toss up, and bonus points if they're working together, the moon or Mercury, or the moon and Mercury. It's the place of memory. You think about the Akashic records and recalling things. Yeah, that would be my answer.
Yeah, I at least for this minute, I'm with you. Moon and Mercury. Can't forget about Moon. Yeah, that's a biggie. I think Moon on it. Yeah. Huh. Okay. I don't know how we got to this point, but
that's the beauty of it.
I'm feeling it. I want to say what's up to Jendi here, the birthday person who became a member of my channel. Says to Mel's point. Okay, can I do this? I can do this.
Will it say? Oh, look
Mel's
at that.
point. It says member for 1 month. 1 month. 1 month. That's funny how the software does this plural.
Yeah.
Level. Look at what I call my level for my members. Secret Sparks 1. What the fuck? It must have been 3 a.m. when I did that. It says to Mel's point, I recommend Here's the Thing by Fontaine's DC. It starts with the chorus and seems to be fitting. Oh, so we got a song here, a banger.
Oh, we got a banger. A banger.
Thanks, Jendi. Thank you. Yeah.
Did you write that down? Do I need to write that down? Hold on. Let me write that down.
It'll be on the stream too. I'm going to look at it later.
I want to listen to it.
But yeah, all right. So let's take a look. I'm curious to see where my brain goes. I'm not used to using the software, and what I want to do is I want to call up the. Can I do this? Can I just call up when Mercury was last at 0 Virgo? Do we do this really quick, or do we not?
I mean,
nah.
What do we got? What do we got to lose?
No,
do you want? I could do it.
I mean, you could do it, but I mean, I was thinking we might as well go through this weekend because I was curious because of what happens. I can look on my ephemeris right now and do it. We're looking at.
July 25th is when it moved in.
Yeah, July 25th. Well, 25th, 26th is good. That actually, you said this because here, you keep looking at that. I'm going to do.
And then July 28th last year, if you really want to take it back. If you really want to go
taking
back.
it back, but it was July.
July 25th, 2024
we went
at 3:41.
0 Virgo, but we also remember that around that time was Mercury 29 too, right? The day before, hours before. So this is the place to look at if people are. I don't have the best handwriting there. I should, instead of saying July, I should just do 7. Wait, can I do this? 7/25. And it was 0 degrees Virgo, right?
I'm surprised we haven't said anything about Regulus.
Go right ahead.
Oh, I didn't have anything to offer. I'm just surprised.
We haven't said anything. That's
maybe
okay.
You know what?
We don't have to say nothing.
We don't have to say nothing about. Maybe.
Actually, I think all the Leo stuff's gotten more than enough attention. Enough. How much attention does anything Leo need?
Well, a lot. I mean.
All right. And to that, I'm going to go on a rant here.
Okay. Let me sit back. Hold on. Okay, go.
I love Leo energy. I never used to. Okay. I never used to dig it because they used to drive me crazy. And it was certain Leos that I would run into. And I knew later on why, especially I got deeper in astrology and the occult world. I realized how grateful I was for those experiences. I have a South Node in Leo. I've had to cope with this and I figured out, and I love Leos. If anybody's watched this channel, I've done videos on Venus and Leo. I've talked about the Pink Pleasure Palace. I've done all types of shit for Leos. I've done special reading deals, whatever else it is. but some of y'all drive me crazy sometimes. It's like sometimes it's just like, okay, I can't breathe, taking up all the room. You know, somebody else in the room needs a little bit of attention. What about the Virgos? They don't get any attention. Nothing. Everybody forgets about the Virgos, and their hands are dirty, and their hands and knees are in the mud, and they're pulling up weeds out of the whatever. And at the meantime, the rest of the Leos are sitting there partying at the barbecue, and then all of the Virgos are sitting there laboring. It's like, what about them? You know, so I'm not saying all the time. I'm just saying in certain situations, it drives me crazy. This much, Mel, that much. It used to
just
be
that much.
It used to be this much, but it's only that much now.
That's funny. Astrology, I'm with you. I got Mercury, Jupiter conjunction in Leo, and I think I'm a Leo too. You know what? It's just the Leo's
Gemini
lot.
gets to say this, Mel.
It's
the
Gemini
Leo's
gets lot.
To say this to the Leo. The sextile gets to say it. Like, it's theirs. As long as the Gemini doesn't like say like something really sarcastically cold. Because
the Taurus would never say it.
No.
The Scorpio would say it. The Scorpio.
They would just I think they may have to say it. If they were in the room, they would be like, and that's it. That's it. And then they would do something. And then it would be like, what the, you know, especially if the Leo wanted the attention from the Scorpio.
I think it's okay if there's one Leo in the room. What happens when you get too many?
What do they
say? That's a fashion show.
It is. Actually, you're right. I've been to a Leo party, like birthday party at a pub, like it's Leo night. I've been, and actually I had a great time. It was a great time, but because I was really observing what was going on. I had one foot in, one foot out, and it was hilarious because of the expression and the exuberance in multifaceted ways. It was brilliant. Okay, I'm done with the rant.
Let a Leo be a Leo. I'm like,
Mel,
I get it. You just gotta.
Mel, there ain't
Gemini.
Nothing. I've tasted all 12 honeys, okay? All the honeys of the universe. I've laughed in
that bold honey.
I've been there. I gotta say, I have to say, like the Leo drink, the Leo potion, it's really good. It's really good. I gotta say that.
I like what James is saying right here. As a Virgo person with dear Leo friends, I feel seen, laugh face, but my poor Leo friends need the attention. And I think that is the difference, is that the Leos need it. The Virgo doesn't.
Yes, they do. They need it too.
I mean, everybody needs it to some extent, but to the extent that the Leo needs it.
Well, the Virgo can survive. I think the Virgo can survive without it. I think the Leo at some point needs it. If it doesn't happen, it's the worst thing to see a Leo down. It's one of the worst things.
It is. It's sad. A sad lion is not good.
Sad lion, sad Aries, sad Sagittarius. Sad Sagittarius is a whole nother Netflix series, okay? But it's like it's the worst thing to see, because of what they bring and what they can bring into people's lives. I could be down. I got a Leo running in my world a certain way, and they can just pull the light out of me. And and support me and are generous in their actions. And I just love it. And so when the Leo's down, that's the worst sad clown that I think you could see, you know?
So here's a mutable thing to say.
Yes.
How do we get here? Why are we talking about this?
I went on a rant.
Oh, that's right.
We were talking about Mercury going in here. We're 20 minutes away from Mercury going into Mercury and Leo, and we were talking about that kind of stuff. So
we're gonna usher. So essentially, has this stream turned into a countdown to Mercury and Leo?
In one way, well, the people know on this thing, I down the line, but well, actually, since we're here, let's take a look at Saturday.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at Saturday, because actually it's a good segue. And let me dial this in. As a matter of fact, I'm going to dial this in a different way. So you give me a second here. We're going to take a look at the chat. Sorry, 11T. There's a bunch of you in chat I haven't said hi to yet or whatever. Some of you are new. I apologize. We're doing things differently today. You know, I have to do the thing. Hey, subscribe to our channels, that kind of thing. Press the like button. Send 500 Bitcoins. Okay, so hold on a second. Let me dial this in. 500 Bitcoins. It used to be like people were like buying pizzas and trading like 20 Bitcoins for a pizza back in the day.
Oh,
you imagine
man.
that? Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Let me look at this. We're going to start off here.
Best pizza you ever bought.
Yeah. Now people are like, they're regretting it. They're there. That's when I'm going to look for this chart right here. I'm going to pull it up in a second. And we're going to go from there. We can use this chart. I'm going to delete this while I configure this stuff. Give me a second here. I'm doing stuff here. Actually, we'll do this in real time so people can see what I'm doing. And let's do this. I will paste that there. All right. We're gonna go here with this particular time, Mel.
Okay.
This is, can you see this?
Oh, that time.
Yeah,
okay.
we'll start here, okay? And let's go for it. So what we're looking at is August 18th. By the way, Astrology, Stephanie King, 11T, Cosmic Supermarket. I just want to wake me from this. I see you all in chat in the background. ORC Fig is coming from your channel. It's got some funny comments. Leo birthday parties are no joke. Full theatrical commitment. That's exactly what it is. But in Canada Dry dropped another super chat. I have to say that. Thanks, Canada Dry. All right. So here is this chart. August 18th, 2:46 a.m. The person who wanted to know if we talked about Uranus yet, here we are. I forget who that was. Here is Mercury at 27 degrees. And you can see here Uranus at 27 degrees, and we have a square. And it's not the first one we've had here. We've had this recently. We had a. I'm going to look that up really quick, Mel, on my calendar here, but of when we had it last. It should be that too long ago, actually.
The Mercury square.
The first Mercury Uranus square was, yeah.
I got it. Hold on.
Oh, I can do it another way.
July 21st.
July 20th. Just that week of the 21st and the 25th is interesting because it's coming back this week, isn't it, Mel? Yeah. So, okay. So Mercury Uranus square. So one thing we could say is that week you just mentioned, Mel, could be coming back up for a lot of people here who are affected by these transits, right? Something that,
which let's give a quick shout out to reference that point in time is because we're getting into this full moon, right? Mercury Uranus happened essentially on that Pluto full moon, that 29-degree Capricorn full moon. So the last full moon. So it's truncating full moons, this aspect, or not truncating, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I do. Wow, that's pretty intense.
It is.
You have a Plutonian story coming into this, depending, right? It just depends, but really just the lunation in general, what lunations bring, and things come up to the surface or the shadows are revealed, the basic full moon type of stuff. But again, the first thing that comes to mind here, Mel, for me, I can't help it. It comes from a creative angle. If anybody was, let's say, I'm not trying, like, we're going to talk about the harder sides of this, right? We're going to. But for me, I look at something like this, the second square that's happening, and this during a retrograde, that's here, something could have been sparked between the fixed areas of someone's chart here, and especially if they have these degrees, and it's come to a place of survival, maybe. So the spark, the something new, the words that were said, they've come to a place here back where you're looking at it and reviewing it, and it's like, how does it survive? Does this make sense to you, Mel? I don't know what you think about what I'm saying.
Well, I mean,
you could tell me I'm full of
random
shit, by the way.
I'm gonna be honest. I started to trail off because I was thinking about what was going on in my life at that time. And so I missed I missed the meat of what was being said. And now that I've talked even more, now I don't remember anything. So
Mel,
I apologize.
Mel, what day is it?
It's Mercury's day.
Okay. Who am I?
A sparkle of gold.
Okay, yeah, I am. Who are you?
That I have no
How the hell
clue.
did you end up on my screen?
I don't know. I just end up places.
I want to acknowledge you, Mel. I want to say something here. Here's my truth. The other day, I was having a conversation with two other people that you know.
Oh.
And your name came up. And I said something. They said something. And we all agreed on that something. You know what that something was?
Oh my goodness. Do tell.
How fucking amazing you are and how amazing of a deck that you constructed. And we got on this interesting conversation because we've seen a lot of decks. Everybody watching knows out there that the bonus of Kickstarters and GoFundMe and people who are independent can independently produce and create things that are crowdfunded. And we see all levels of this. So there's people who never fulfill their stuff, right? And there's people who do, right? But still, when you get something that comes in the mail in your hands, and then you see the construction, you see everything. And everybody who knows this, I don't know which live stream I did where I showcased your deck, Mel, but I showcased your deck. But I opened everything right there. I didn't open it yet privately, I don't think. And there was weird, subtle things that were beautiful. And the things those subtle things, I mentioned to two other people, and they saw the same thing. And we were like, we had a little love moment. And about your creativity and your individuality and not just the work that you put in, but the subtleties that you bring. And it, again, it was like it had to do, you know what got me? Was this.
What got you?
Okay, the artwork is dope. So the friend that you did this with is an amazing artist, right? But it had to do with just the color scheming. But it was this. It was the ribbon. It was the ribbon for me. It was like the ribbon and the sparkles. And I was like, because you can get the deck and it's wrapped up and there isn't any extra something, right? And even the inside of this box is velvety. It doesn't have to be velvety, Mel.
It doesn't.
So
I could have chose. There's a lot of options. These are all custom. You know how long it took me to pick out that ribbon color? How many colors I had to look through?
This is what I was getting to. This is what I was getting to. Is I know the depth and the time just for that, because when I saw it, and anybody knows when we deal with creative anything that it takes time and it takes trial and error and it takes all of that. So, to go back to a Mercury Uranus thing, because you trailed off and you said, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you all the way, blah, blah, blah. And for me, as your friend, and us, we're always connected. I don't trip on something like that. Like for me, like, I didn't hear what you're saying, Nicholas. Because other people get like, you didn't hear what I'm saying. I don't, because it tells me that knowing the depth and how you carry and how you walk in your life as a creative being, a creative person, that where you trailed off to is probably some deep ass stuff, and it probably gold. Now, do you want to tell us what that is?
Well,
you could mask it.
I mean, I just went back to that point in time and I was about to go on a pilgrimage. Which I was going on a pilgrimage.
Right.
during that last Mercury square to Uranus. When Mercury moved over from 29 Leo into Virgo. So basically, I did a pilgrimage. So I was recollecting my memories because I'm a Cancer. So that's where a lot of my space lives, is in the memory.
In memory. Mm-hmm.
And I took a pilgrimage back home to Florida, where I'm from, to see my parents. And I hadn't been there since 2007. So there was a lot to go through. That was definitely a precursor to all the energies that we're feeling right now in that full moon, you know, basically in Capricorn, but it moved over to Pluto in Aquarius. My IC's in Aquarius.
Oh, so the past, like the bottom, the past of your chart, where it comes from, the foundations that they stand upon, all the things, the lineage, ancestry,
all the things,
memory. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's where I was taken aback, because I was during that Mercury Uranus first square, I was at a pivotal moment of perception of what is this destabilization of my life going to look like when I introduce this very rooted but distant situation, place, relationships. And so I was just and now I get to come back with this Mercury retrograde hitting the same point, actually with the full moon in my 4th house. And because I learned a lot on that trip about me, about where I come from, about life. And I'm still taking it in. So think about all that. And that's where my mind was starting to trail.
Again, I knew that it was something locked down, Mel. And by the way, you know, you just put yourself out here on the stream, so thank you. I mean, being honest and straight up, and that's some deep stuff, you know. And just think, Mel, if we were to think here that this point in time from a 29-degree place, or this, we're talking about Mercury Uranus here, we're going to do it one more time, right? Mercury's going to square this again. You know, basically, well, I don't want to go there right now, but it'll be 3 times that we do this, that you do this. When it comes
September
to
6th.
September 6th.
So just a FYI. Yeah, so what were you saying?
We were here. we were in a Mercury Uranus square that's happening.
That, you know what? Oh, well, let me also share.
Yes.
That I was born with a Mercury Jupiter conjunction in Leo. But it squares my Uranus ascendant conjunction in Scorpio. So I was born with this transit.
Oh.
So I know, which I totally forgot until right now. I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably why I love to interrupt conversations, not on purpose, just accidentally.
Do you mind me asking you, Mel, what degree your Mars is?
What degree my Mars is?
Yeah.
Gemini.
Oh yeah.
I'm not remembering
either.
Where's your brain? Where you at?
I was trailing off somewhere. Do you want to know where I was trailing off to?
I do want to know.
Oh, I can't do that. I can't really.
What?
Do I really say what the hell I was trailing off to? Because you just trailed off.
I feel like in life we have nothing to lose. So why not?
That's okay. Here, hold on a second. I'll show you where I was trailing off to. Okay. We could still do Mercury whatever justice. Okay. If I just go like this, and I'll deal with this. How do I do?
What is that? What is that? Like weird... You're one line off from something very specific.
I know. I was doing something right there. later in the day on Saturday, while we're doing Mercury Uranus square, is we have at 6:58 p.m. on the Sunday, we have Sun conjunct Mercury. We have the Cazimi happen at this moment at let me do this here at 20. It's gonna let me do. It's not gonna let me. Oh, it's erasing things here at 26 degrees is the Cazimi. I'll circle here just as a reference of the square that's obviously doesn't go away. Right.
The square that doesn't
go away.
Never.
But here, Mel, we have a moment here. We've been talking about Mercury and Leo and the transition going over in 2 stories. We have this thing, and I think Mercury gets a cleansing of sorts right here by Mercury going to the sun. It gets burned down by the sun to its purity form. It's the midpoint of the Mercury retrograde cycle, as it always is when Mercury's conjunct the sun. Mercury basically does a rebirth cycle here, or it could be rebirth or it could be birth, right here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I look at, when I see squares, when I see things that could be tough or challenging or whatever, and we're brewing into something here, people are paying attention to that, knowing that the full moon we're going to talk about. But here we have a moment. There's a little bit of a place here to find some purity and connection and clarity. And that's how I'm looking at this Mercury Sun conjunction, as I do all of them, right? It's a very holy place for me, I don't know what you think about it. No,
I like that. I think one of the things we have to remember about the inferior conjunction of the Sun and Mercury is that many people, including myself, deem this as the beginning of the cycle. Mm-hmm. Now we know that Mercury and Sun cycle is the shortest, other than the moon and the sun, of all cycles. But if we think about what's going to be introduced in the heart of the sun, right? This isn't just the sun at any old spot. It's literally the heart of the sun there in Leo. And it gets this, I like to think about Uranus as an awakening energy, as when it's like leveling up your software to 2.0. Or 3.0 or 20.0, whatever software you're on. And that's exciting to think about what the mind can download at this time that will then start to send us off on these curiosities, on this exploration, on this collecting of information and feeling our feelers out and really beginning. Because that's essentially the thing that Mercury then goes. It gets past the message. The sun hands its baton, and it's like, oh, I've got a new mission. I have new things to figure out and new things to explore and take in and to calculate. Well, let me get going. And this can be, given the rest of the astrology, very life-changing for many folks. So it's exciting. Yeah. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, exciting's the word. Liberating's another word that comes to mind here, because we're talking about the square, but what happens with the sun and Mercury here, and it doesn't go away. I think that it gets carried over until the full moon, which we'll talk about here. But to me personally, it's a very private place, this Mercury Sun thing. It always is for me personally, but what comes from that place, especially with Uranus involved, but again, the purity of the sun and what happens, and I think one of the holiest of places for Mercury to be, right? Mercury is never scared of this moment. It's never. This is a one way of coming home too. It's just, and Mercury has many homes for many different purposes, but this one's always a big deal, I think. And so I look at it as a holy quiet place, and the insights. I actually think since the beginning of the retrograde to this, where we are today with the Mercury going into Leo here, it just did about a minute ago, by the way. Mercury went into Leo a minute ago. And here we are. And then we have Mars Jupiter conjunction today, and it's part of this weekend. again, out of all the information, all the stuff that's coming through in mercurial ways, whatever vessels that Mercury moves through, remember that remember Mercury's magic. And I've said this on my streams before to remember. It's like, is it the post office? Is it the deliveries? Is it the emails? It is. It totally is. Is it your words? Is it what you're forming up here? But it also, Hermes rules, what you do and what you take with things and how you put them together and what comes out of those places. And that is magic and that is alchemy, and I think for me, it's in everything that we do. And so it's always present. But when we have a week like this week going into Sunday, the type of insight that's around it is incredible, I think. And for me, I take the position, like I told you earlier, Mel. It's like, I don't want to talk about it. I know it's there. Me, the Gemini, doesn't want to tell the details of it or whatever, but I got it crafting. I see it and feel it, and it's not over yet. So when we get to Sunday with Mercury Sun conjunction personally, and let's say we take the Leo archetype, all the beautiful things we've said about Leo archetypes on this stream, they've mostly been great. This is a fundamental moment. I think here, being in the sun's place, that one doesn't have a question, or they could take this mantra on, let's say. One doesn't have a question of who they are, what they are at these degrees. It's coming back to a place of like, this is who I am. This is what I represent. This is where everything comes from. This centered orb, pure place. Everything comes from this place and everything comes out of this place. So for me, that's how I look at it. Like, oh, I go into that place, regardless of the other transits, regardless of whatever the F is going on in the rest of the world, I look at that in that sense. Just so happens to be it's on the Sunday. I don't know. It could be church for some.
We're going to our own church. Yeah, we're going to.
But again, it's a reminder, for people here, if you're having a rough retrograde, that you got a sweet spot in all this, but it has Uranus to kick some ass a little bit, to inspire it, to bring some excitement, like you said, Mel, and the liberation part of things. So we'll catch up on chat here because I see some good comments in chat, but we wanted to point this out. Okay. On a side note, even though it happened not too long, though, you're going to see something here where the moon is in Aquarius. So we did our monthly moon Pluto conjunction that happened at, I'm looking at the wrong calendar right now in front of me. It happened at...
on the 16th, late 16th?
It happened on the 17th. Late at 3:13 p.m. on the Saturday. The 17th is when it happened. We're on the 18th looking here. And then I just needed to mention that. And then I will get to something else. We're doing this in stages, Mel. Are you cool with that?
I am. I mean, I had so much to say with your
keep going.
Well, just you talking about well, you were just talking about the idea of coming home. And saying it's a private place, but it's also very public because, and I mean, this could be speaking as someone who's got Leo as their midheaven, but I mean, things tend to be out in the open during a full moon. And the moon brings us home. And Leo and Aquarius together, Leo is who we are, and the Aquarius is who we are out there, how we contribute. And I think it's good to know who you are and how you want to physically manifest in this world so that you can be part of a bigger
That's how I was feeling. That's how I was feeling it, Mel, is that. And, if we think just in general, of just any conjunction that happens, right? Any conjunctions, the end and beginning of a cycle, and Mars and Jupiter are doing this phase thing today where they're having their beginning of a cycle to set off. Mercury and Sun do it here, and we're talking about, so it's a type of thing where there's, I think that kind of is underneath this these transits is this place of coming to a place to find that space and home, or it's in your mind or whatever, and then what could happen afterwards. But yeah, so yeah. Which Mel,
this
go ahead.
chat. Well, no, I'm just laughing at the chat.
Let's take a look at chat, by the way.
There's a lot of talk about my hair, which my Leo planets appreciate. Thank you.
Let's just put you on blast, Mel. We'll just put you on blast here, okay? We'll just go right here, okay? See, there it is. Colors, yeah.
This is my natural color. You know, old people used to love to pet me in the mall. Like, they would just stop and they would just touch you, which is very strange. But yeah.
You know, Mel, I used to have hair down to my back.
You did?
Yeah.
When was this?
Oh, another life.
Another sparkle. A sparkle of silver.
Doc Martens, long ass hair. And I used to be at shows, and like women would touch my hair. I'd be at a show taking pictures. I was a photographer. And I hated it. I hated it when people touched my hair. Like in that way. It sucked.
I wonder if that's like a Leo South Node thing.
Triggered
by that.
I'm joking.
I know. Who knows? You could have died by your hair. Like, what if your hair?
The hardest part was like if you're hitting like a bong hit or a joint at a party, a long hair. There's always that thing where your hair catches on fire. It happened a couple times to me at some shows, that kind of thing. Get Love, Give Love earlier said, they said, Sparkles of Gold, we must not forget that Saturn is in Jupiter's house, and Jupiter from the Gemini is hosting Saturn. Yes, that's true. Just got to point that out.
That is true, because then you think about Saturn being in that overcoming position, and Jupiter not in the back. It's like, who's in charge? It's like no one's in charge. Like no one. No one knows what the heck is going on.
You know what, though? If we're going to talk about in charge, though, that's why I come back to all this, because in the end, to me, Saturn's always in charge. So when Saturn's always involved in transit, this is my deal. So we're looking at everything that's going to happen. We're going to look at this thing right now. We're going to talk about this and get into the full moon. It always just comes down to Saturn for me, always. That's just the kind of astrologer I am. A lot of people don't like that. But Saturn's in charge, All right, Mel, do you see what I'm seeing here?
What are we seeing?
The same crazy day.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The same day.
And so much going on this day.
So much going on. And so we go into 10:52 or 53 late Pacific time on the Sunday, which is the next day, Monday, for a lot of people, because what we also have is we haven't talked about Venus. And we're going to talk about it in a couple different ways here, but we're going to go to, where the hell is the, what am I looking for? Looking for Jupiter. Hi, Jupiter. So we passed something here, but it's okay.
I don't think so. Here's my thinking on that, because it was always in my line sight, but I don't think we passed it, because what we're doing is we're highlighting combinations. And I think certain combinations need to be highlighted. Highlight. That's not a word, but this is a conversation right here. Now Venus is in the mix, and Venus is getting to her square with Mars, which is always very important in the elongated Venus-Mars saga. So that's beyond just this moment too. Like, this is a much longer cycle of, the lovers, so to speaking.
Yeah. And let's point out here too, that, we got both signs ruled by a Mercury retrograde here. Mercury's the player in this too. And so, yeah, they're communicating. Mutable square. I still think this is a situation where one has to watch their word and mouth, even though that Mercury's coming out. Let's just point out where Mercury is in this chart, by the way. Remember, there's still this happening, okay? We're just going to point that out over here. That I think here, the details and the information, I almost think, even though we have this mutable square right now, Mel, that's happening right now, a lot yesterday, I almost think here, and when things are on balance, we go into the weekend, we're here, even though Mercury went through the sun, I still think there can be more confusion than today or yesterday with the transits, with the grand mutable cross. I think if one could take the place or the mindset of meditative qualities, of slowing down, of everything, can help one navigate this week, but especially on Sunday to Monday. Because let's say let's say that's not happening, right? Then you have two Mercury ruled signs who are in a sense clashing here. And let's say they're not in a meditative place. This is where things can be completely irrational, I think. Distracted. You know, you got two mutable signs, two Mercury signs. So it's like 4, and it's like, it's too much. It's too distracting. It's too many things, too many details, too much to try to figure out, you know? And so for me, if I were to quote unquote figure out anything, it would be more figuring it out on the meditative place of being chill to do that. But I don't see that happening here between Venus and Jupiter. And I think they're wanting to relate, but Jupiter just wants to push, you know? And this is a scenario, Mel, where I can go, I'm shopping for a synthesizer and I got a budget of $125 for some cheapo synth, and I walk out and I spent 2 G's on a synth, right? That's one way this can go. Is like I came in with this thing, but then I got scattered and I got caught up, and Jupiter pushed the Venus to spend, right? And Venus in Virgo was trying to be frugal, but it didn't, and it got sold by the Jupiter and Mars. You know, Jupiter and Mars got sold. You know, got tricked into doing something more than it should have, right? This is me.
That literally happened to me today.
It happened to you today.
That happened to me today. I needed to buy more deodorant. I went online to get the deodorant I liked. And then it said, spend $10 more and you get free shipping.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, you know, there's probably nothing on this website that is $10, first off. But I looked, and then I found some body lotion. And I was like, you know what? I'll get that. Tack it on. Tacked it on. Went to the checkout. And somehow I still needed $10 more for free shipping. And at that point, I'm not buying anything else. I'm paying for shipping. And now I've bought more than I intended to. But I'm going to smell great. So there's that.
Well, yeah. No, that's, I get it. I mean, it's worth it, right? I mean, the example that you just gave, now let's just imagine that it was two people relating, or, you know, is a Venus thing on a relational level. And then here comes Jupiter. I mean, this could be great too in certain ways if it's used in a certain way. But I just think after the buildup of the last week and a half of mercurial stuff, of retrograde, Mars, Jupiter, all this, we get into this weekend and it's a full moon happening. I just see tangential garbage that can happen, you know? And, you know, it's, remember, another word of Jupiter is exaggeration, right? It exaggerates.
Oh, yeah. The fish is always bigger.
Yeah, it inflames, right? So again, if anybody's got degrees, mutable, let's say you have something over here, it's just something to pay attention to, right? Is my advice, is to pay attention to this. Now we're breaking this whole weekend down into many small transits here because it's all, we all put it into one, right? But we're doing this square right now as we speak, but it hits the peak point here at 10:53 p.m. Pacific, and going into the 19th, which we just might as well just show this one here.
Well, and let me just say real quick before we switch it up that we're going to kind of go a little bit further than the 19th to, I think it was maybe the 20th, 21st, when Venus actually perfects that, maybe 20th, that square to Mars. And
It's
like
the
you said
22nd,
earlier,
22nd on 8:20 p.m. Pacific, 22nd exact Venus Mars square.
And having Venus and Mars lighten up the Jupiter Saturn square, and then it all really coming down to that Mercury Sun, which has reached its cazimi, but now it's in combustion and still retrograde and maybe moving a little too fast. Right? Mercury's moving super fast at this point. But it's going backwards. And when we think about just interpersonal dynamics, and this can be in romantic relationships, business, it can be on the world stage. I mean, one of the things that, we haven't mentioned, and I don't even know if we want to, is the whole DNC convention that happens at this time.
Yep.
But this is a hotbed for, and you might have already said this earlier, this being very aware of your intention and what you're speaking and what you're saying, and what message is coming across within this, because that can inflame the situation, and create cross purposes that get blown out of proportion for various reasons pretty easily. So if you're wondering why you're not getting along with people, why everybody has different views and they don't see it your way.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that might
But
be a thing.
one thing I will say to this is the other side of this with the square with Venus Jupiter is through all this though. We remember, let's say if a square does get worked out, like something that comes from the challenge of the square and it's a forced issue, something must survive or something
Yes.
must change. That's a square. That what comes out of this too is Jupiter can bring the higher insight here, right? And Venus and Virgo can take that and really start to put it into form and practicality, and that's the thing here, the deeper perception, the philosophical view of it all, and to catch that. So let's say it's an argument and there's a bunch of things happening. Can somebody get through the challenge of Mercury retrograde and Mercury ruled signs going through a challenge and get to a place of a higher truth, a higher meaning of it all? It doesn't mean anything has to be done after that. I still stick to that during this retrograde, but it'll play out later on. And, this goes to what you brought up about the August 22nd, Mel, with Venus square Mars, this is the next chapter of this, right? So, it's not over on the Sunday. It's not.
No. And we got to remember that in a much grander scheme, because one of the big things coming at the end of this year and the beginning of next is we have Mars and Venus retrogrades. And so this is part of their connection with that story. So there can be things that come up at this time that then facilitate longer timelines that carry us all the way through next spring. No pressure or anything, but
no pressure at all.
No pressure. But what I like about this too is we got to realize as Mercury starts to move backwards, maybe there are some, forced issues, which can be good. You bring something to light, you trip over it at first, but then Mercury keeps going back, and then it makes a sextile to Mars and a sextile to Jupiter, and there's a different conversation that can be had at that point too. So
yeah, it's by the way, for anybody watching, you're getting into doing your charts, you're affected by things like this. This is good training for you to look at your transits, because all the different aspects along the way, let's see the Venus Mars cycle and what happened, actually can be really helpful. They happen really fast, most of the time. During the retrograde, there's certain aspects that don't happen fast, and that's even better to study, because you're going to have 2 to 3 basic aspects that repeat themselves. Let's say it's whatever, when Mars is in Cancer, it's going to do certain Mars in Cancer is going to do certain things with Gemini. No. It's going to actually do some trines to Saturn and Pisces. I don't want to get into that right now, but to go into cycles to understand Venus, Mars, and how they're moving can be really helpful to understand learning transits over a certain period of time. Now,
that's another strain, but
that's another thing. I'm not changing the chart here because I'm not going to, but basically when we get several hours later, what's exact and what's part of this, because we've left it out, we've been leaving Saturn out, but we've been bringing Saturn in, is at the same time this is happening pretty much, the square, we have this, and that's official. The Venus-Saturn opposition happens on August 19th it's within hours. It's all happening at once, but we're breaking it down, right, Mel? So
Yeah, this is like micro transiting right here. This is so fast when we're living it, but as we dissect
it is,
all the little
but it's
pieces.
happening right there. So Saturn is part of this. Obviously, this is the whole week building like this. We're doing this whole T square the whole week, until this weekend. But we're adding the Saturn component into this, and thankfully, I'm going to say, thankfully, but this is I'm listen, people who know my streams, you know that I don't preach apocalyptic this and that. The worst thing is going to happen. All I do is do the ancient text language of malefics, and Mars means this. That means that basically Mars Venus square that's going to happen on the 22nd. There's going to be an actual sword that severs marriage vows or some shit. I'm not gonna, say that there's stuff that happens literally like that, but I take in all accounts. But this isn't the easiest of transits, to have a T square like this. It's not the easiest. So I'm always looking for solutions, Mel.
Yeah, and I think that the word solution is a good one, because we're going to, mutable. That's what mutable's for. You have to adapt to what is and how things are changing. And sometimes there's solutions and sometimes there isn't. But that doesn't mean that we don't have to adjust ourselves to what's going on. So, I was saying that in my newsletter this month of, usually when there's especially oppositions involved, squares and oppositions, the energy can get stopped up. And sometimes it can be dramatic and sometimes it's not. It's just things don't move quite as, effortlessly as you would maybe like them to. And we keep talking about this being such a dynamic period of time, which it is. You cannot lie. This astrology is something else, but it really is more about hanging back and biding your time and meditating and resting and not allowing to be tricked into thinking that the mind can always figure things out. We have to have space for the aha or the intuition that we were talking about earlier, or just something to seep in that is of higher wisdom, that is not something you can piece out and just think about and add up all the facts and then you arrive at the answer. It's a different route.
It's a different route. For some reason this comes up for me right now. Let me do something here because we're going to change this. I'm just going to go back to this. It's kind of funny. Like if you talk to a Pisces, sometimes it's regardless of age, but you talk to one who just did their Saturn opposition, like they're in their 40s, mid 40s, or whatever, or let's say they're.
I just went through that transit. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not a Pisces. But I did just went through that transit.
Yeah, I think you talk to a Pisces, and even if you don't ask them for advice or whatever, and if you ask them to tell you about their last 15 years, let's say. Most of the time, this is from my experience, they will start to tell you things in stories, and there will be a bunch of them. And it's almost like a bunch of identities that they've lived. This is their whole lives. They kind of do this shit. Like people got a bunch of Pisces in their chart. And I think whether they know it or not, they get to places where they could say, there's the deeper thing, the deeper wisdom as like, well, that's life. Or yeah, at one point I owned a shop in this beach town, and I married this guy, and blah 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 blah, and it's like, oh, it's great, it sounds great, yeah, but then things got whatever. I don't know how long I think I was married for like 7 years or something, and then I changed my name, wasn't actually the name that I have now. Anyway, here's crazy stories like that, and then multiple of these stories, and then go into talk and then they were to ask me, a younger person, let's say I was younger, what was going on in my life, and I was stressed. Let's just say I had all this stuff, mutable T square happening in my chart, my relationship, and blah, 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 blah. And they would most likely listen. And they would probably say something to connect with in a compassionate way but it would come in a way that was a deep, universal, infinite understanding of how the universe works, and that things change, and that, does a Saturn and Pisces say, hey, things change, like hardcore Saturn Pisces? I think they would come across still in a compassionate way. Saturnian, it's still rooted, it's still structured to help guide you, but to go like, this is life and things morph, and you're in the present moment of moving. And my advice to you is to remember that things do pass. Things do, eventually even themselves out, or they take you to a place, and it has to do with trust. And trust is something that you cannot see, but trust me, as someone who went through blah 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 my life, I know this. It's anyway, that's kind of how I think about it, so
Yeah, I mean, that's I think this very conversation is what got us on the train to do this live stream to begin with. I know my
it
internet
did,
is doing
didn't
weird
it?
things right now. Yeah.
I'll put it
Yeah.
here, so I gotta take care of the Leo part of you. Yeah, so
Yeah. No, I think that this is the very premise that you were like, let's do a live stream, because we were talking about this faith and this trust element in life, and just sinking into the understanding of how the world works, how existence works, and how when we get caught up in the details, or the monkey mind, or trying to push life. I remember us talking about, because this was a big message that was coming to me, was that the way I was viewing my own life was pigeonholing it. And if I was just able to disregard what I think is possible, because if I disregard what I think is possible, there's actually a much better reality available for me. And that's where that faith and trust component comes in, because when you pigeonhole yourself into one particular spot, you don't have that faith for something better. You don't have that sense of, I guess I could say, release, that allows something to become that you don't have control over, but you can trust that it's actually a much better situation for you and everyone else. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
no, it totally makes sense. It's just, got to be reminded, by the universe too. One can have that in their mantra, in their tool bag, but then, you lose sight. And then especially if you're dealing with major mercurial situations and overload for many situations or people, to get into the mind, you're in the mind place. And usually in the mind, but there's only parts of the mind, like you're focused, or it puts you in a place. But usually you're using the mind in a positive way to put you in a space of Zen, as they say, or the in-between place, where you're not thinking of the past or what's going to happen. It's more about the present, the more of that philosophical perspective, and like getting to that place, use the mind. But again, if you're overloading your mind, it just takes over. It's what being human is. It's one of the major dilemmas, I think, of what being human is what your mind is telling you, if it's real or not, the decisions you're making based on that. And if you're overloaded, it's not the first thing to go like a place of trust and faith in the unknown, or something more than your mind. And you have to find something. You have to find tools to bring you back to that place, right? That's just how it works. But no one's immune to that. I don't care if you're going to talk about the 40-year-old monk in the hills, in the Himalayas. I think they might be a little bit more refined in their methods over time, so anyway,
I love how we're going to the depths of so many places. Meanwhile, my neighbor's 2 barking dogs have been going off.
Yeah, and I wonder what's setting them
I've
off,
been muting
too.
no. Okay, so here's the thing: is that one is this small dachshund the longest dog I've
Let's
ever
take this
seen.
one.
Like
That's
dachshunds
not.
are long, but
We'll go back.
this dog is super long. Anyways, it has separation anxiety. And so which which is very difficult for me, someone who works from home. And so I even messaged my neighbor. I was like, "Are you going to be home?" And he's like, "I'm going to be home in 15 minutes." And yeah, I don't know what to do. So, but it feels so. It's just this irony of like talking about these deeper meanings in life and like letting go of sometimes like the mind's agenda around it. And it's almost like those dogs represent the mind. You know what I mean? Like it's a dachshund and it's a poodle. And they're just one barks and then the other one barks. And they just keep barking. And we don't know what they're barking at. But they're stressed.
They're
The
stressed.
barking
Yeah.
is not helping. And it's like it's could be a good analogy for the mind.
No,
Especially
actually, no, Mel. I like how you brought that around. I like what you did there. And there's a lot of barking maybe happening this week in people's world or in their own mind. And something needs to be quenched. Something needs to be switched up for the barking to stop. I think it's just dependent on the situation and the person.
the owner has to come home for it to stop.
Yeah, the owner has to come home. Yeah, Mercury needs to get the hell to the sun and stay
He was
there,
like,
which it
you
wasn't
need to.
for a moment, which was for a week.
But okay, I'm just gonna ride that for one more second because we talked about coming home and coming home to the self. Because if you're at home in yourself and where you're at and who you are, then the barking isn't there.
Yes.
That's
No,
all I
you're
have
right.
to say.
Yeah, no. I know what you're saying. James Sanders in chat with a super chat. James, thank you, brother. James is a
Thanks,
regular here on the
James.
channel. Mel, there will be an answer. Let it be. Right on, James.
Yeah.
James
There
is a
will be
musician
an
too. I don't
answer.
on my YouTube. He plays music. That's talk about a musician. He just there it is. Thanks, James. Thanks for being you. Give me a second here. All right. We talked about Saturn. We brought this in. You know what? I gotta be real, man. I gotta use the restroom, Mel. I gotta run the bathroom really
You
quick.
gotta. You want me to hold the?
Yeah, you can
You
hold
want
it.
me
Tell me
in
what you want on the
my
screen.
loose bandwidth?
Yeah, tell me. You can talk to the chat too, but it's gonna take me. It won't take too long. But what do you want me? Oh, I should pull up the lunation chart. Is what I'll do. Then I'll run.
You can. I might like look at the chat a little bit here.
Okay, look at the chat. But I don't know how your bandwidth is. What do you want me to do?
I mean, you can. What do I look like? I don't know what I look like. I can't tell.
You're pixelated.
It doesn't matter. Put the chart back on just in case something comes up. Just put the chart on.
All right, give me a second.
Put the chart on. Yeah, astrology. If you speak with the neighbor, advise him to leave calmly when he leaves. No rushing. Yeah, I don't. Well, they're a wild family to begin with. I think you get the dogs you get for a reason. let's just say that there is this connection with people and their animals. You ever notice that? Like people tend to look like their animals. They take on, especially with dogs, but I mean with cats too. Oh, maybe birds. I don't know, but yeah, there's a lot to be said here for that. All right. So what do we? I love the Beatles reference. We got it. We have to let it be. There will be an answer. Let it be. How hard is it to let it be? And why is something so passive sometimes the hardest thing to do? Like, where's the irony in that? Why is passivity and reception and this could be air and fire planets speaking, but yeah, so we'll lean into that. Pisces. Oh, do dachshunds like to watch TV? Stephanie says. I don't know. I might make a suggestion as long as the TV's not loud because I don't want to hear that either. This is the thing when you live by people. I live in an old house. It was built in like 1919 or something. You know, the walls aren't the best. And I have chosen an office that's right next to my neighbor's wall. So you get what you get.
Hey, I just want to let everybody, all the Virgos out there, I wash my hands, okay? I use soap, and it was about 20 seconds,
That
and I
was so
washed my hands.
fast.
Yeah, it's just, I just want to let
Were you
everybody.
washing while you were going?
No, but that's the next. I'll try that. I'll try that this weekend at the Mercury Sun conjunction. See if I could do it. But yeah. Anyway,
100%, James. I was just telling that. Well, first we were talking about dachshunds, and people and their dogs, and like you get the pets that you get for interesting reasons. But then we were talking about letting it be and how ironically sometimes that's like the hardest thing you can do. Like, why is passivity and reception so hard? And then James was saying, we think we have to make our lives when life mostly just happens.
Yep, that's Citrus in the chat needing to clarify washing hands and using soap while doing so is what?
Slightly concerning. Does that mean he doesn't do it other times?
Why would we watch my
him?
channel? If people watch my channel, they know me that I'll do anything and say anything. So I'm like, I'm always gonna, somebody's like, well, then again, I mean, some Virgos out there like, I didn't need to know that, Nicholas. I didn't need to know. Like, that's a picture in their mind,
now I doubt
they got
that
some
you
Howard
ever
Hughes
did.
thing going on in her world or something. Let me do this chart. We'll just go to that. There's I got to do some things in the background. We're going to keep going here because we're hitting the 2-hour mark close to here. Mel, can 10 more hours to go.
10 more hours to go. We're we're trying to beat as someone said earlier, we're trying to beat the astrology podcast.
Yeah. There's 7 hour. There's the people do this on Twitch. They do these Twitch runs to make all this money. I should do one of those for a live stream, but that's like crazy. That is crazy. All right.
That is crazy. People, no one needs to do that. What does it say about the person that's doing it? You don't have to. That could be a rhetorical question, but that's just me.
Okay, so check it. Along the way, okay, the full moon here, we got it, the chart in front of us, is exact at 11:25 a.m. Pacific. I just want to say for the record, because we'll talk about this, that I'm going to circle Uranus here really quick and the sun in Leo. They have their exact sun-Uranus square actually happens before that full moon, but it's 9:45 a.m. Pacific, okay? So then the full moon is what have I got here? That's 11:25 a.m. But I just wanted to point out this Uranus Sun square for the record. But here we are. I'll clear that up. They need a better way. I could clear everything out at once. I got to tap this to do this. But here we are, 27 degrees. Let me do this last part again. I'll just circle the both of them. And here is Uranus. So Mel, we have mutable T squares, and fixed T squares. Some rare beasts this week. But here we are at this wild, I don't know, apex. It's not even apex. We still got the rest of the transits that week or whatever, but we're kind of brewing up this whole week to this weekend and this moment here. And I just want to give a shout out to anyone who has, I would say, between 25 and 29 degrees fixed. Okay. Just want to say that. Oh, you guys can't see that. Why is it on this one? Here, I got to do this again. And Mel, while I draw.
Including the U.S. moon. The U.S.'s moon for all of us that.
The U.S. moon is what, Mel?
Is 26 Aquarius.
USA moon is 26 Aquarius.
Well, you just said everybody that has those placements. And then I was
Yes.
thinking of all of us that live in this country, which I know not all of us do.
People are bringing up something here in chats here, Mel. They're bringing up algol, and we can't forget that because it's pretty much at the degree there. And this algol's never really gone away here for a while now because we've had
No.
multiple transits come through here. And now, we'll go on a political tangent in a second, but let's just point out the basics here, okay? And I'm curious to see how your mind works, Mel. So how about you say stuff of what you think about the chart, and I will follow with my pen if I can. How about that?
All right. Let's see. What am I? Okay, so I know we pointed out a second ago about the Sun and Uranus meeting earlier in the day, but it really always comes down to the moon. The moon's the moment. The moon is the action, and so to me, it doesn't matter when anything exactly perfects. It's more like, when does the moon reflect the perfect? Because then we get the answer. So to me, this brings up, by the time we get to this place, it's almost like what was actually Kay Michelle was talking to James earlier when we were talking about letting it be. And they said it's when people struggle to let go of control. Like, that's the difficulty of letting it be. And so this is an interesting point to me, because this full moon, yeah, it has Venus, Saturn. It has Mars, Jupiter. That's its own story. But now the story is actually shifting to the Sun, Mercury, Uranus piece. Like, this is the piece that is illuminated for all to see. And why actually today was so like a perfect day to do this live stream, because the Sag moon was creating the T-square with the mutable planets. And so I think that even though all these influences, it's like, how many people can you have on stage at one time, right? So to me, this full moon is really highlighting the Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Uranus more than it is any other thing, as far as like in the moment and what we're experiencing, which can be a little bit jarring, especially when we think about algol being involved and Mercury there. I mean, talking about losing your head, or heads rolling. I mean, where does Mercury essentially live to some extent? So, not to put any type of judgment of good or bad on what that means, but I feel like it can be very illuminating and awakening, like we said, liberating and freeing and strange. Like, this is actually very accidental. This is not energy that you want to like test your luck with. And if you're out on the road, like, to keep it super mundane, like if you're out on the roads and you're speeding around, or move a lane and you don't see the car there, like, so there's a lot of unexpected just kind of jarring shifts that can happen, that can be very positive. Okay, let me just tack this on, and then I'm giving the floor to you, because this has been something that's been very powerful for me lately, is the idea of neutrality and not assigning things as good or bad or positive or negative, because life and its mutability is always changing the story. And so we don't actually know what can be positive or what can be negative. And if we stay neutral in a place, we can sort of allow for all sides. And that's where the real awakening, when we can see everything, especially when we're so maybe pigeonholed because it's fixed. Like, this is very jarring. And the end of a sign, these are end degrees, right? These are old stories in my mind that are getting broken apart, which I feel like things can break apart when there's in positive ways. This is kind of hypocritical to say, but with neutrality. I don't know if that made any sense, but
I
Go with it.
understand because you're looking for an outlet here of neutrality. You're looking for an outlet because here things are forced. So I for some reason in my mind, it brings up a longer story for those who watch my channel, who got to know me the last 2.5 years, especially when we had eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio and a lot of fixed stuff happening. We know we've talked about things being, in a sense, wound up and tightened for fixed signs. And as a matter of fact, this particular degree reminds me of an eclipse that happened way back in 21 or 22, whenever they first started. It was in November, the first eclipses that happened, Taurus Scorpio. So I'm referencing that. But for anybody in fixed degrees, fixed spaces like this is a culminating story here. I as for the neutrality part, Mel, it's a good way to try to look at this. And I think it was an I won't say that part yet. That has to do with the tangent we're going to deal with later. But I think here, the liberating part, the freedom part, the exciting part is a great way to look at this, to try to channel one's story into that place. Remember, a lot of the times there are things that happen to us that we do not have control over. And I think that is really, elevated with this full moon. I think is the type of things that happen in fixed squares where there is something that's so wound up and tight that needs to burst and change, and it doesn't because of the stubbornness of all the signs, the fixed signs, that things do truly come out of the blue here. And it depends on how much one holds. To go back to the comments we had earlier about holding on to control and doing all that, where then it's more of a tightly wound caustic situation, more of a squared situation. There's the other things where people are liberated and break off, or the feeling of breaking off from situations finally, either or multiple. But can one step off and look and engage, and then engage in situations from a place of neutrality? I mean, can you do that? It's like, I don't know personally, but it's a way to look at it.
It's a way.
It's a
Can
way.
you? It's a choice.
It's
That's
a
a
way.
choice.
And again, I think that takes stepping away, stepping off of. But there's people who have things at these degrees or certain parts of their lives right now, and it's ongoing. And here we are building this whole week to communication differences, to weird things that are happening with Venus and Jupiter, Venus, Saturn. You have all these little players in the background, and you have this mega player, Uranus, here that's in this. And it's a deeper, longer story underneath, right? So for me, I in particular, if one out there feels that they must liberate themselves or a situation, that they're actually, you feel that you're in control in a good way, that it's come to a place finally where you will sever, you will make the change. The typical thing with talking like this is usually relationships come up, but I don't even want to think about it in that way. I think about a lot of times whatever someone's dealing with, they get to a place like, I can't do this anymore, regardless of what it is, right? Like, I can't buy those pints. I buy 5 pints of ice cream in my freezer every damn week, and I go through all of them at 2 a.m. each night. I can't do this anymore. That's a sarcastic one, but it's the truth, not my truth. But again, whatever the change is, if one could recognize moments and understand it and be aware of it, this is a weekend for it. Now, the other end of it is what I book and a convention center, wherever the hell it is, to have a Democratic National Convention on this day, I would have never have done this. I would have never have elected this chart to start a convention in. That's just my opinion. I wouldn't have done it. But, places are booked up. That's all we got. They did it, right? And it's just... They did it because we're going to do it after the Republican. I don't even know how it works every fucking time. If the Republicans do theirs first and the Democrats do theirs next, I don't know what they're doing. They switch off every 4 years. I don't know what the rapport is, but this is some wild stuff right here. And I don't necessarily like it personally. I don't like it. I don't like it for rhetoric, for words, for whatever. Now, if one's to take a step and look out, it's a seed moment, or not a seed moment, but it's part of a story where there is a tangential part of the story that starts to happen and goes off. I could see it here with Uranus, Sun, and Moon, right? I could see it. But for me, I'm not feeling the best about it. I'm just not. So I just needed to say that. You know, I don't want someone said heads to roll. We already had a rolling head thing, possible thing that happened, not too long ago. I don't want any bullshit or tragedy or some shit that happened politically besides the United States or anything else. I don't. But these transits set stuff like that up. And I hope and wish that I am wrong about drama that comes from a full moon like this in the political sphere. I just, plus I'm over it, to be honest. But I see it here, and I don't see people in massive amounts in groups, mass people. Let's see if this can go. We'll check this out now. It's still kind of whatever. We'll go back. So I don't see. I don't. I'm trying to be good with you. I don't see mass people in a place, and not just in the convention center, but are representing all these other people. The people are supporting Democratic Party, and it's the people who can't stand them. And the rest of the transits, Mercury retrograde, Jupiter, Mars, all this stuff, and the rhetoric, the information, the elevated, what seems to be true, all this stuff is like peaking, and we get to this lunation, and it's like, are we really going to get some clear insight? Are we really going to get, is it meditative and calm? It isn't. So no. I, as an individual, could find that place for myself. But if I'm thinking about massive amounts of people, right? I don't see it. I see people getting caught up and elevated and something cracking or breaking. Not necessarily that day on the full moon, but I could see it down the line into September, honestly. And I got my reasons for that. So,
well, I mean, I hear everything you're saying. I look at this chart and I think, uprising. It has a very if someone wanted to lead a rebellion, if someone just happened to have a full moon that in their own chart that happens to jive with this full moon, it's not a bad place to be. And then you think about the Venus component, Venus square, and like you said, no one would have ever picked this chart if people were like actually being, but this is what we call divine timing. Astrology is, we try to pick our times, and it's neither here nor there, and I definitely am a proponent of it, but there's the timing of certain things that can't be picked, and it's just perfect the way it is for whatever reason. Actually, the way this chart, it lines up with it's a full moon on the US's moon, and we are the people. The people is essentially given that. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that you live in the US or you don't, there's so many things about this country that need to change. There's bigger rebellions that need to take place. Putting getting a female candidate even closer to the position than ever before is exciting, but it's definitely not the answer to many issues. But
again, it's a thing too. We have to remind ourselves that regardless of who you support or not support, or parties or whatever else, that the transits do not discriminate, that they're in favor from the person you can't stand sometimes, right? Or whatever, it's a step away, like to really step out and look. But if we were to pick an entity or a chart or a person, like you said, the USA's chart, mind you, I'm not a mundane astrologer, right? I don't do that kind of shit. I leave it to other people. But just to keep this focus on the moon here, this is for everybody, right? All of us. So,
Yeah.
that's the bigger picture. It's all of us. What is shifting and changing here? And something is. If we don't see it next week, there's going to be headlines and drama that come out of the convention and quotes and all that bullshit and stupid ass TikToks. So, in memes, but it doesn't matter. The longer story is there is something switching definitely here.
Yes.
Another
Yes.
chapter in this. And it's just so happens to be, the convention starts and we got an interesting week and the Kazemi and all these transits, right? But it's a shift for sure. And this point in time, by the way, because we look at the 27 degrees Uranus, eventually it goes retrograde. If I'm correct here,
I'm going to put down my shades while you're talking. Keep going.
yeah, September 1st, Uranus goes retrograde at 27 degrees. So just a reminder for everybody. And I'll just go here just to do it this way. A reminder for everybody that this particular 27-degree place is not, we get past the full moon, Uranus stations at 27, then it's got to go all the way back and then it's going to hit it again. And then we got all through spring with this kind of stuff. So just to point it out, okay? So I'll wait for it to come back. The other thing about this particular, and we got to talk about Saturn too.
Well, and what we never, okay, that didn't help at all. But what we never said either when we were talking about Mercury being in this place before, Mercury was at this degree where the Kazemi happens when actually Joe Biden stepped down. So that was like when we talk about sort of the divine timing and this kind of mercurial shift and the Uranian component, that's what happened in that moment too.
Yeah.
So
again, I'm only 20%. I look at charts like this, mundane and all that. I wish I had more time to do it. Maybe one day. I think I'm going to do some streams. I'm on this kind of stuff. But in general, though, it's a major shift for the country, I think for the world too, because it affects that. And people's personal lives, again, if you feel like you have the hand on some levers of your situation, I would be chill that weekend. That's me.
I like the comment that 11 brought up earlier.
The Harris pick?
They said, is it a good time to say it or not, or let it be? And I thought that was pretty funny because when we're talking about these two different these two different signatures, and part of me was like, yeah, that's a good question. Maybe you do. Maybe it is a good time to say it, and then you let it be.
Yeah. I mean, people have to make their call, right? But
yeah,
exactly. You know how it is, though, Mel. They get to a place, and they maybe have already been patient and waiting. And they just have to say it. They just have to do it.
Sometimes you just got to say it.
Yeah. And it's wild and it's not perfect. It's not perfect too, right? And there's byproduct of that because you're saying stuff during a Mercury retrograde and you're probably going to have to clean up a word or two or something later, but you at least initiated or started the process and there's the relief of that. And then you have to deal with some of the fallout from it, but that's no big deal. The pressure was released. And that's what happens with squares. You want to relieve pressure. That's what the square wants to do. It needs to shift. It needs to mutate. Now, I won't use the word mutate in this case because it's fixed, but it needs to evolve. And that's the biggest thing, one, to try to remember this, right? Again, for those who know, fixed degrees, huge for you who've been dealing with this for so many years. I think after this, there isn't much. I think when we finally have Uranus leave Taurus later next year into Gemini, I think a lot of fixed whatevers ends, okay? For a lot of people, they finally went through some stories, and which I want to know why this isn't working. There we go. But here,
I like
Mel,
that. Say it with your heart. Paul Astrology said, say it with your heart.
Yeah, right on, Paul. But Mel, officially at 2:46, several hours later, we have the official first Jupiter-Saturn square that's official.
I know.
And this is all part of the deal too. And let me do this. I think we're doing okay on the stream, Mel, for doing everything on the fly. I'm not feeling too like later on. I'm gonna watch the video and chapter mark this. It's gonna take me forever, but I'm gonna be like,
Or you could let it be.
all right, fuck. I wish I can let my chapter markers like not do that, but yeah, but I feel you. Chapter markers, people don't understand. They take a long time to do. I have to watch the
No,
whole
I
2 hours
understand.
again.
I know.
But Jupiter Saturn square, Mel, and let's just make a point here. I'm not going to pull up the chart, but I'm going to while I'm working on something here in the background. My mind is coming to a particular place. Okay, and it has to do with. I'll get rid of the time. I'll keep this. It has to do with December.
Nope.
21st, 2020, Mel.
Mm.
And that was the Jupiter Saturn conjunction that happened.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right. At 0 degrees Aquarius.
I think it's funny that Mercury is now in Leo and everything's to the sun, and I'm literally getting blinded by the sun right now.
You're getting.
I'm getting hit. It's like, oh, guess what? We're here.
We're gonna shine the light on you.
Now I'm shine the light. Yeah,
I gotta
know where you're
remember
going with
referencing
this.
songs with you. You're gonna start. You literally know the words, and you'll start singing.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. I don't know. That's some song, or I could be making it up. But oh, this little light of mine. I can't remember the rest. That's all I got.
I know what song you're talking about. I know which one you're talking about. So yeah, Mel, here we are now. If one is paying attention to the square, if we think from a longer, bigger cycles with Saturn, Jupiter, Saturn conjunction that was on 0 degrees here, which was a famous degree here in Aquarius, we are at a opening, waxing square from that point of time here. So Jupiter and Saturn are meeting each other, kind of doing a square, challenging check-in from what, in a sense, was birthed around that time, December 21st, 2020. And it's a critical, interesting place because we know Pluto is flirting with this. It's not flirting.
It's on it.
It's on it. So saying that, I'm going to say the first things that come to mind and keep it really simple, okay? My abundant mind, Mel. my visionary mind. My abundant mind in Gemini. The Jupiter in Gemini. Just so many things I can do all at once that I've started, that I have initiated. Like I feel, and I not only that, I feel and know that they're all these possibilities. They're all going to happen, and if I had my way, they would all happen at once, or I time them out a little bit. I'm the Jupiter in Gemini part of me is pushing this, exaggerating this. And nothing is going to stop me. Except what happens when I push too far?
Sounds like Saturn's going to come in.
Yeah, what the planet after Jupiter is Saturn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think, Mel? If I'm playing the character of Jupiter and Gemini, okay, got Mars behind me right now too.
All revved. I know. I was just looking at all the planets aside from Saturn. All the planets are in the bounds of either Mars or Jupiter in this moment. It's like heavily centered. I mean,
that was my weird
guess
setup.
it depends on how seriously you take yourself. It's one thing to entertain. And it's another thing to believe. And I'm not saying one's right or the other, you know. But there's also the flip side, which is the good old analysis paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you have a million ideas don't mean they're all leading you somewhere. Sometimes we have a million ideas and it leads us nowhere. And we get wrapped up in ourselves, and we're wrapped up in the potential, and it creates anxiety.
Yeah, you don't even know why sometimes. Why you got the anxiety.
You
Your
wake up
mind-
in the middle of the night, it's 3 a.m., your mind's racing. You're thinking about all the things in the future, things in the past, things that have nothing to do with time at all.
Nope.
I think if you I could try. I don't think switching my camera is going to help.
No, it's okay.
I think it's the bandwidth.
The other thing is, what if I can come up with all these and start them and ride them, and then I just change my fucking mind? I just change my mind. I do it all. I know this. I'm a Gemini. I do it all the effing time. I mean, changing your mind is good. It's good, but you have to know the art of this, the art of changing your mind, the art of moving back and forth, of being mutable. But you talk to any Gemini who will be, if they're truly honest with you, if they're truly honest and they don't give you a bunch of whatever words, that word salad, right? Because we're pretty good at word salad. I'm going to say the Mercury and Sagittarius are the best at it. They could take that crown. But it's like I for me, it's a thing where, again, I'm a Saturnian guy in the end, and I'm grateful for a Saturn transit right here to squaring Jupiter to hold it. If we didn't have Saturn and Pisces right here, I don't know what the hell to think or where things would go. It just so happens we're having this transit to go back to the 0 degree place of how it was birthed in 2020 and what it means for air signs and the air sign story that's coming our way for years here very soon. Of how we deal with air, our thoughts and our visions and our mind, and how it's implemented, and the sociability, because air a lot of times is not inquiring just within yourself, but it always has the social component to it, whether it's Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. The social component is always in play. So here for me, it's not only my internal ideas, my mind thinking, my constructing of sentences, my putting together of words. If it's all over the place, and Mars is pushing me right now with Jupiter, I could say or do anything, but it just falls to pieces and nothing happens. And promises and words were said, or irons were put in the fire, and none of it fulfills itself. How many books do I have next to me in bed that I have not finished? I have like 4 of them. Okay. So I'm going to finish them. Like
I was going to ask you, that was actually something that was on my mind either earlier today or yesterday. I was like, when we're on the stream, I want to ask him, do you ever finish books, or do you find that you always make it to the middle?
Yes, I finish books.
I mean, I'm just speaking from my own Gemini planet.
2 years later.
Oh, but you finish them. I am notorious for the bookmark halfway through.
Yeah. Again, the thing here is with Saturn, we get back to some of the stuff we talked about earlier, Mel, about structure, about discipline, and a container, how I always talk about it. But here, Saturn, I am of the mindset that Saturn, not to make it win-loss or whatever, but Saturn rules this. But it's weird because of the ruler here, what was mentioned earlier by someone in the chat here, because we have the exchange happening here. Pisces ruled by Jupiter and Gemini right now. So there is some funky different way of looking at this, but Saturn rules the roost here in my mind. And it's not just, it might not seem like on this full moon weekend with all the transits, with Uranus, everything, but in the long term, because that's what Saturn does, it's ruling this, thankfully, and putting the clamp down on, which Jupiter hates clamp down. It just hates boundary. It just doesn't like it. when the one visionary thing gets accomplished, I don't know if they would ever say it out loud. Maybe this Jupiter and Gemini will eventually next year say it out loud, like, hey, thanks Saturn and Pisces for helping me get through this book. And I finished it, like you found the ways to do it, because I had the 4 or 5 books open and somehow I had to push the rest of them off the shelf and I stuck to the one. Why? Because I got a test thrown my way. There was an exam. Let's say there was a money issue that needed to be in play. Now, wherever Gemini and Pisces is in people's charts, the dynamic that's happening between the two, Saturn is limiting the pace of Jupiter and Gemini with Mars there. It wants to limit the pace. There is reasons for it. It might come across as authoritarian and it might not like it, but there's a deeper reason why. And if one, again, can look at that and understand that, but it's hard to on the first square. When we get in December, when we have the next Jupiter-Saturn square where the retrogrades are flipped, where Jupiter is going to be retrograde, Saturn will be moving forward, I think is super golden. I think it's a great spot here if we're looking at it long term. But again, with the mutable square here, as a mutable person, I could say that it's really about lining up one thing, maybe two at the most, 2, and they must work in tandem together. They must work in tandem, not 2 separate different things that have nothing to do with each other. Like they have to be in tandem. And so that's the way I look at it here. But Saturn is putting a clamp down on Jupiter and Mars. It's
I keep hearing the Clash song.
Which song?
Is working for the clamp down? Isn't that the?
Oh,
you know that song? Yeah.
Keep going. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Anyways, I think it's unless I'm not hearing clamp down, but what we got to remember always with 3-part transits or even 5-part transits, depending on the planet, whether they're happening in the sky mundanely or they're happening in our charts. It's the first one is always the introduction. It always leads us somewhere. It introduces the energy to us, but it doesn't necessarily bring the answers or the actionable.
You said the first square is the introduction. Is that what you just said?
Yes. First square is the introduction. We're introduced to the energy. And usually there's not a whole lot you can do when you're introduced to something. You're just becoming aware of it. But when we get to that middle, the middle is like in the introduction can be the one that sometimes is the most jarring, only because we weren't aware that either it was coming or maybe we were aware, but now it's here and then we have to do something about it. The middle, I feel like, gives us a lot of meat as to what those solutions or that storyline is.
Okay, to be clear, Mel, we're now when you say the middle, we're, let's say, referencing the square that's happening in December, correct?
Yes, the square that is happening in December. Like this is the, we're well aware of what's going on. We've had time to sit with it. We've had time to maneuver it, to investigate it. And this is where the meat comes into where we can actually move with the energies more for what the future realization will be, which essentially takes us to the third pass, which is sort of the resolution and the outcome and where this whole storyline has taken us and what we've done with it, which will be in June 15th of 2025, which Lord knows there's a lot going on there for different reasons. You got Saturn, Neptune, etc.
So the third, I know all this stuff too, Mel, but I'm just we'll just slow it down here because I want to get this on the screen. So the third square is interesting because it's different signs, but it's June 15th. Okay. It's 1 degrees. So the Jupiter square Saturn.
Yes. Thank
1
you.
1 degree. It's Cancer
reminding.
Cardinal. So
yes,
Saturn
we're in Cardinal
and Aries and
We're in Cardinal, which is
Interesting.
interesting to think about, because not only are we switching modalities to the initiation and the start, and we're leaving the transition, but now we have Jupiter exalted and we have Saturn fallen and with Neptune, which is going to create a very interesting social, political dynamic, I'm sure, but that's neither here nor there. But we witness Jupiter in this, not the best of places, technically speaking. And it's almost like if there was a battle between the two, like no one's looking hot right now, but it feels like Jupiter, even though we've given credit to Saturn, feels like Jupiter is in the impetus to growth and expansion, and even that coming home element that we talked about with a different transit feels like it comes out on top when it's all said and done in June of next year. But
yeah, I think the thing there with this is, I just think it's fascinating that it just enters in the other signs there, but it's part of the cycle, but gives you a completely different outlook and enters in the cardinal realm, and at that point, I think it's enough mutability at that point, even though we know Saturn is going to jump back in to Pisces, so on and so forth, but at least for this square thing there, anybody who's affected by this is keeping track of these squares. You kind of have a guideline here and know that when we get to June there's the next one. And I'm not saying there's solutions involved or completely there, but I think it's a completely different way of maybe bringing in the challenge between the square. We have a third square, usually in the third one. Between the second and third square, we're applying what we've learned, right? In one sense, we're trying to apply it and learning, but we get to learn it with a different cardinal Cancer Aries outlook, and it changes everything too, because that means we're doing Mars and the Moon, right?
moon
Moon rules Jupiter and
yes,
Cancer, right?
which
Saturn is ruled by Mars, and I think Mars is in Virgo around that time, I think.
No, yes, and
Yep.
almost. And so that is, and
Yeah.
I'm looking at the chart right now, and that's the kicker with this, is that when that last square happens, Mars ruling Saturn and Neptune, as you just pointed out, is at 29 degrees of Leo and squaring Uranus. So
yeah, so here's the chart.
It's quite the it's quite the bang to go out on with Jupiter and Saturn meeting. And an Aquarius moon, nonetheless.
Neptune is right there. Jeez, I forgot about that. But yeah,
you can't forget about that. And essentially that's the next big thing that is coming. We gotta, because it's not just about the Jupiter Saturn story. I mean, it's huge because it's the first hinge of the Jupiter Saturn cycle, as you pointed out, that started in late 2020. But there's this other major cycle with Saturn and Neptune. So it's almost like the Jupiter Saturn energy hands the baton to Saturn to then go on to Neptune, and they both cross over into Aries and conjunct, which is going to be huge as far as just the dynamic state of the world and it making major changes. It's almost like, look at 2024. It is that very much that in between place. So we might feel like we've been in between for a lot of times, but this is a different vibe.
We're doing the major shift there, because at that point, because if we look at this chart, let me go back. By the way, I just want to acknowledge Mystery Cat with the comment that they said, because the midway between Mars and Uranus will link the August 19th T-squares in the natal US is there. Okay, I don't want to go grab the other chart, but I just need to put that up. Thank you for saying that, Mystery Cat. Nice emoji, by the way, or a little profile picture they have. They have the old battery. But anyway, so the where the hell there's Pluto. Just want to point this out from a perspective of the shifts that are happening. There's Pluto retrograde there, right? But it's not going back. It's not going back into Capricorn. So we're in now, right? And then
We're in
we
it.
have these shifts. We have these shifts here. The only one that still really hasn't started the shift yet is Uranus there. It's a 28, but it's going to eventually. And then but yeah, later when we get into end of 2025, we're full. I think when Saturn and Neptune finish their retrogrades and fully go, we're in. Uranus will be in Gemini. We're in. We're in the new phase, new world. All the outer body planets have done they're doing their shifting. So, again, I see for me, Mel, is can it's not can. If one were to really look at things over a long term, Saturn wants to solidify the vision of Jupiter, really. If they're working together, that Saturn gives the form to the vision of Jupiter and Gemini, let's just say. And for a bigger, more positive outcomes that can come from this. And so at a challenging spot, we deal with challenge, we need to adjust. But here, the ideas of Gemini, the movement of Gemini, it needs a form and function. It needs to be like we said, clamp. By the way, the name of the song was by The Clash, and it's called Clamp Down. So just to say that, but it's a thing for me. It's how I look at it. It's like, oh, I need like for me, I'll be honest. I got a second house Gemini, right? I'm a second house. Okay. Second house Gemini. I'm not going to pull my damn chart up here. I have an 11th house Pisces, right?
Yep.
So for me, I already think about this. What I'm doing right now is very 11th house. Okay. I've got my crew here. I got a whole crew of people, by the way. We got a good crew tonight. I'm
Good
seeing
crew.
here. Yeah, got a good mix of crew from both our channels. Okay, we've had 63 people watching now. There was 70 something at the peak. Pretty good. I'm digging it, right? We've had some super chats. People who know me, they know what I do in my brain and whatever the fucking weirdness. But one thing for me is like, well, how do I not reconcile, but how do I take care of myself and need for the planting of and the accumulation of resource in my second house and its relation to the community that I'm involved in on multiple levels. So there's the people who follow me who are my Patreon members here, my super chats, my channel memberships, whatever. For the last 48 hours, Mel, I was researching. I had MailerLite, Substack, Beehive. I had the major newsletters, and I'm like going to get out of MailChimp, okay, because I just don't like it. For the first time in 6 months, I sent an email out today. And for me, I'm thinking on that level, what I need to do. Then there's the bigger level, the bigger vision of how I would do my 11th house, my relation to my community, and they do supporting my wishes and dreams and my aspirations, right? How friends and patrons and community do this. But it's not just them doing it for you. It's a thing of like the exchange that happens that is for the benefit of all. That's the way I look at it, right? That there's certain type of honest value exchange. So for me, I have to work Saturn in my 11th. I have to work here and I have to reconfigure. But I'll tell you, does my Jupiter, or does the Gemini part of my house with Mercury, Venus, and Sun there, I'm firing on all cylinders in my head. But I can't function like the way I'm doing it right now. I can't function with the ideas in my head. I need to work on this. And so that's my personal example, right, of what's going on through my brain. And I know this is going to, I'm saying this on the video, when we get to June of next year, right around my birthday, what will this be? What will I have done? But I'm taking more of the Saturn approach to it because for me, Saturn is always tangible for me. It's always in my hands, right? It's always where the building blocks and the work one has to do. It's not in your head. You have to manifest and you have to put yourself to the test and you have to answer the test, and that's the way I look at it. So I'll be done with this rant, but if anybody else watching out there and you're dealing with this dynamic, it's like you got to be real, Saturn, with the situation to get the vision, Jupiter, to fulfill itself. Now that's my view of it, using my personal story. but it's a thing where it doesn't come easily, right? And that's why I think Saturn and the pace of things, right? The container. You have any words pop up in your brain, Mel?
Well, I'm just thinking. I'm just
Tell me what you're thinking. I don't care
I'm
what it is.
thinking in relation to your experience of Saturn, and it made me think because we both have one thing we always have to remind ourselves as we go through transits. Yeah, Saturn's in Pisces. But at the end of the day, how we live, like truly live Saturn, is in relation to our experience of Saturn. And so, you know, Nicholas and I both have Saturns and Earth signs. So if you think about your relationship with Saturn and how Saturn needs to has to be manifested in this tangible, you know, down to earth, touch it, you know, reality.
It is me. I was Taurus rising, and I'm like,
yes. Yeah. Is it so much a Saturnian thing? Yeah, Saturn does deal with, you know, the lowest of the low and in the earth itself, and the, you know, what you can, you know, the base matter. But there is something to be said about people's different experiences of Saturn to them and where the work is done. I think that was a good choice of words to align with Saturn, because wherever Saturn is, as we transit it, and if we're not returning to it, then Saturn is in an unfamiliar place for us, and we have to do the work around what Saturn is teaching us in what normally doesn't have its influence there. So I see Astrology, Saturn North Node, square Mars. Yeah, like military training. Yes, we were born at the same time. To answer your question much earlier, where I born in 79? Yes, so we're only like a week apart. Because I was born with Saturn on the North Node, and Mars squares it exactly. That's what's so funny. Right now, Mars is squaring Saturn, which I don't think we even gave any lip service to.
No, we didn't.
We talked so much about Jupiter that we ignored the whole Mars Saturn cycle, and this being the opening point to that. But I really felt, because Mars Saturn is not an easy aspect, but when you have it natally and then it comes around, it's almost like, yeah, I'm getting my groove. You know? I'm in my zone. This is what I know.
Yeah, you keep going, but I'm gonna write this down, because tomorrow on the 15th, on August 15th, I ain't got the
is
worst.
The actual.
Yeah, so we do Mars square Saturn, right?
Yes. Yeah. So Mars squares Saturn tomorrow, August 15th, under a Capricorn moon. So we'll have a moon that is we're out of Jupiter moon zone, and we're entering into the Saturnian side of things for the leading up to the full moon. Yeah, so we, you know, and I think that just comes back to what we were talking about earlier about recognizing limitations, knowing when to let it be, and also looking at the potentiality of what could be and what we want to put longer term effort into. And what Nicholas was saying earlier with honing it down to one, but most likely two.
Yep.
Things that can be interchanged together and will allow the mission to continue, right? You know, the mission can go a little awry when Mars meets Saturn. You know, the brakes are put on, you try to gas it, but then, you know, a line gets cut, or you know, you hit a stoplight, you know, what have you. But there's a purpose to the space. There's a purpose to stopping and reevaluating and entertaining the options. Evaluate. There's evaluating and there's reevaluating. And I think, you know, especially since we're in Mercury Retrograde zone right now, it's the perfect time to reevaluate what works and what doesn't. You know, what
Yeah, no,
is
that's a word. It's a word I use a lot with Saturn. Is people are dealing with Saturn transits, reevaluation and stuff. And it's and also the other word is reevaluating, but it's redefinition too. Can I even spell today? Um,
and
but
even
yeah,
looking at where Uranus is, and Uranus being at the end of Taurus, and in tarot that's governed by the Seven of Pentacles, which is in Crawley's system, it's known as the card called failure. In our deck, I named it evaluation, because this
huh.
is a moment where you sit and you look at what you've harvested thus far, and sometimes the harvest isn't that great, and then there's other things that you've been putting your energy into that are getting some traction or some momentum, and that's when you decide, hey, wait, it's okay if this didn't work out. It's okay if I failed at this. And it could be a literal failure. It could be it failed with resonance. Sometimes it doesn't resonate with you, and that's a failure, and that's okay. But it allows us to continue on a path that does have promise to the harvest that we actually want to reap and sow. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking here, to add the Uranian component in with
Yeah, no,
Mars
it's
Saturn.
yeah, Mars Saturn. Yeah, this is a toughie right here though too, because this is super caustic, man. They got two malefics here. They can get kind of testy, and they I think both planets here have a tendency to rub up against things in certain ways, right? Saturn is the boundary maker and the rules and the authority and the discipline and the structure. Mars just wants to force and is courageous force as the will, and but we remember the other part of this is the anger and the impulse and the competition, and it's rubbing up against somebody who's not going to budge, or is Saturn. A song comes to mind. It's I think about it all of this week with a lot of the transits and with everything leading to Mercury, right? And what's happening. But it's a song by Soundgarden, and it's called Mind Riot. It's off the Bad Motorfinger album, the third one that they put out. No, the second one, the second major LP they put out. It's funny, when they put that record out, I was working for Silver Management, who was the management company for Soundgarden. Susan Silver was the wife of Chris Cornell, and she managed Soundgarden and Alice in Chains. Their offices were above the Central Tavern in Seattle. I eventually, don't ask me how this happened, but I used to go pay visits there in the afternoon and got to know certain people because there was just cute girls that worked there, and they all had dogs. So whenever you walk in through the door, it's just dogs coming at you. And you would run into crazy people up there. Whatever the case is, it was around that time, it was early 90s when this album came out. But there's a song on there called Mind Riot. So if anybody go take a look at it, it's very apropos of these transits, like of Mars, Saturn, and like but everything leading to Mercury and a retrograde and Uranus, Mercury, all this stuff. Go check out the lyrics to that. Okay, here, Mel, because we're almost 3 hours into this stream. Okay.
Kudos
And
to all the people that have been with us this whole time.
yeah, and I'm surprised actually, but there's a couple things here, Mel. One of them is I'm going to, where the hell is my browser windows? Okay, first off, we're gonna do a couple things. I see something in chat here. Okay, now we're gonna do this one time, Mel.
What?
We're gonna do it one time, and we're gonna attempt it. Okay.
Oh, are we gonna do it?
We're gonna
After all
attempt
this time, we're gonna see if we
I
can
think,
do it.
yeah. The thing is yeah. And let me see how you look. I think you're still a bit. Yeah.
I mean, you can leave it up, or you can make yourself a little bit bigger and then put me on the
Let's see. Can I
the
do
little,
that? Yeah, the little thing. Oh, yeah,
but
like this.
reverse.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay,
There we
so
go.
and listen, there's some comments in the chat. We're gonna get to them. I didn't know we're gonna go this long, but we told you guys her Mars is on my Mercury. Okay.
We could go forever here.
Okay,
It's like
so we're
to
gonna
get
see
us
if
on
we
the
can do
phone
this.
with each other. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Nicholas will go, I've got like 30 minutes, and then it's like an hour and a
Never
half
that
later.
way. See, I'm trying to be Saturn. I'm like, I got 3 minutes. I got this. Everybody knows that about me when they're communicating with friends. Listen, got 15 minutes. And some people are with me and they're like, why 15 minutes? I haven't heard from you in 2 months. I'm like, do you want to talk or not? Let's do this. But it'll go over. So, and I've had a lot of that since the retrogrades happened. I've had so many conversations. I've actually have done a lot of listening more than talking, to be honest. Which a lot of people think that about me. It's what I do for my profession. I mean, people who know me, I do listen. I go on my rants, but I've done a lot more listening the last couple of weeks, and I found myself in that. And let me just say this point to remember in a simple way for people watching. We're in the middle of the retrograde. We got Mars, Jupiter, all this stuff, and everything's kind of going back to Mercury. And when Mercury stations, on the 28th, we're going to have Venus opposite Neptune that day. We're going to have interesting stuff. But after Venus or Mercury's got to go through it, cover the shadow and go through everything in September. And the thing to remember through all of this is my advice is I think if you have to say what you have to say, like somebody talked about, you do it. But remember with Mercury, in communication, it's not 80% talking, 20% listening. Depending on the situation, it's 50-50. Sometimes it's 80% listening, 20% talking. Sometimes it's no talking. Head nodding, understood. I don't have a rebuttal. I don't have anything to say. I heard what you said. Understood. Yes. Oh, yeah, that sounds tough. I'm sorry you're going through that. And that's it. Not like, oh, sorry you're going through that. You know what I think? I think you should do this. It's like sometimes you have to gauge situations. I'm constantly reminding myself of this, of just be like, oh, communication happens on different levels in the balance. So during retrogrades, normally is a good way to do this. But with everything else going on, it's to understand that part. Maybe you're the person that needs to be listened to, and there's somebody on the opposite side that's not, and they have to learn the art of this. Or you need to go places where you're heard. So it's not just, it's again, depending on the situation, but that is refining, redoing, reviewing mercurial processes. So now we're in Mercury and Leo. Maybe is for some people who have this, they need to express out again in Leo. When it comes back into Virgo, there's a different kind of way of doing the dynamics. Just some thoughts, things that have been on my mind lately, because I've been doing actually a lot of listening. And thankfully,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
how do you? How do you really? Sometimes, in order to get the most out of something for your own learning process, you have to listen. If you're always talking,
yeah, it's also
or to fully understand other people, or it's listening such a valuable skill.
Well, the other part of this, Mel, is it's the basic component. Because I had a conversation with somebody, I was listening, and they brought up some interesting thing that we always talk about, but it had to do with divination. It had to do with divination. It had to do if you're a practitioner sitting with a client who comes to you, or you're with your friend and you're on certain levels of honesty where the space is created for types of conversations, regardless of how challenging they are, or free flowing, or laughing, or sharing. But divination is constantly happening, whether we notice it or not. But it's the acknowledgement that when the mind's involved, for me as a Gemini, I look at the clients, I study the charts, they're coming in. I'm like, boom, I'm ready to roll. I see what the hell's going on in their life. I know every fucking thing about this chart. But I don't.
I know where this is going.
I had to learn. And the biggest thing that I've always learned, will always try to do better at, this is me personally as a practitioner or listening to friends, is recognizing when the space opens up, when the conduit opens up, that knowing in the dynamic with somebody in conversation, especially in readings, because Pandora's box is constantly being opened in whatever levels, is to recognize when to say something and not say anything at all, but to recognize that it's not even me, the practitioner, talking, listening, that I acknowledge the space and moment when divination is occurring, when everything is there, that you're just a channel. So people make fun of me. I have friends or whatever, that, Nicholas, remember when you told me 2 months ago, blah, blah, blah. I don't remember shit. What did I say? I hope it was good. And I go, no, it was this. And I'm like, I said that? I don't even remember. But that's a good thing, because my ego wasn't involved. Me having to prove something wasn't involved. It was just mercurial Hermes alchemical process of divinity, running through. And this is my end of my rant, Mel. People
I love
do
how it's always a
astrology.
rant.
People do astrology and stuff in any types of ways. More power to them. But it's a divination place. It's not some straight up technical shit. It leads to divination. It leads to something else beyond the astrology or whatever one's practiced. You're throwing bones or pulling cards, whatever you're doing. But when you're in the space, everything changes, and you in a sense you're holding space, but you are open, and everything moves through you. So like through the mind. So if I'm saying something, the insight that happens with a client or a person, and it doesn't matter about the money or if I'm right or wrong. What matters is the messaging coming through to support a person in that moment. And if that message is to not say anything, and the other person is just like doing their thing, I'm right there with them, but I'm open, right? So, these are the things I've had really strong since the retrograde started. And I just wanted to say that for people watching and listening, because it's not me. I'm a professional astrologer. Like I do this, and I'm the one who can do that. No, everybody does it, regardless of what your label are. You all have it, right? So this week we go into Sun, Mercury, Kazemi, whatever. These are divination, man. This is levels of it, and recognizing, and so one can manage and bring meaning into their world. Rant over.
Rant over. Well, Scorpio Muse is giving you backing up what you're saying. And I feel you. I always before I go into session, I always, clear my energy, and I, say a prayer, set the space. And I always say, please let me know when to speak and when to listen. And yeah, because I mean, that's what makes for a powerful inner exchange between people, and not only just in an astrology session, in any type of interaction. If we're talking about Mercury, we're talking about communication. We're talking about true communication, not just blurbing something out and going back and forth, but speaking and listening and allowing the power of words, as far as we understand them, affect us in that magical way that you were talking about earlier. That is essentially Hermes' duty.
Yeah.
Because that's how the magic happens. That's how the change happens. That's how we look at things differently and entertain different options and perspectives and ideas. And yeah.
Yeah, I again, it's I think the craft and art of it, like this week, what's happening and the overload that can happen is knowing when to then let off the gas or use Saturn. But in the end, we're trying to get to the place of knowing in many different ways, right? We're trying to get to a place of knowing. That's what we try to do. That's what humans do. We're trying to understand and figure things out constantly in many different ways. But a lot of the times when we come to understanding, it's through crashing and burning, a lot of times through experience, but it's mixed in with like the place of that is sweet spot, as we want to call it, right? And it's
there is that sweet spot.
It's the sweet spot, and it's like it's how we. The other part of the Mercurial Hermes thing is how you get to the sweet spot, and so it's not just recognizing it, but how you get there. And so maybe it is banter back and forth. You talk to somebody and you're talking about surface level stuff in the first 25 minutes of a conversation, but that the other person got a hold of you because they really need to like download. They need to really talk about something. But let's say they're an introverted type of person. So it takes a little bit of time to get to that place. But it's knowing that about the person outside, opposite of you. And it's the art of letting it flow, because they want to get to a point of saying stuff that feels they're safe enough to do this, to get to the vulnerable, to get to a vulnerable place in order for the story, the words, the emotions to come into play. And that's the part of mercurial magic too, is understanding the art of that, and it's just rolling and moving with it. But you're fluid, but you're present and aware at the same
And
time.
yes, and you don't even know sometimes, and sometimes it's not even about vulnerability. It's like the topic just hasn't even moved to that yet, and then you see the opportunity because all of a sudden something is brought to the surface through the conversation that then allows something to go somewhere that might even been your intention in the first place, but it's an opportunity to just dive into the. Yeah.
I love when that stuff happens because there's no plan, even nothing. You just find yourself in the golden place, and you're like, everyone's just like dialed and elevated, you know. Anyway,
are we gonna try the?
Let's do it. Let's try it. Okay.
See,
excuse me.
If we can.
3 hours into a stream here.
Yeah.
This is gonna be our last segment. We got to do this, and I think we're gonna do one maybe here. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm gonna preface this. Some of you know my channel. I haven't done this in a while. I'm going to put a phone number up on the screen. Okay. We could take a look at your chart really quick. Now, the caveat is that we have to focus on one thing. We can't go on tangents about your chart and do this and long story. I'm just being real with you. You can no long-winded story and stuff on the phone. So
we can't do all the Gemini stuff that we just said that Mercury does.
Yes. We'll do our best to be present and listen. So I'll put it up. And before I do that, I want to say what's up to Nadia, who's in here on the super chat with a super chat. I see you, Nadia. I got to catch it up here somewhere. It's one of my watchers. Thanks. Look at it's explaining.
I like that.
It's explaining the
it was
lemon
a cute
character.
It was a little lemon, and it was blowing a horn, and it was marching. I saw it. It was cute.
Lemon character and baby lemon blowing a party horn while marching. That's funny. Thank you, Nadia. All right, so here's the deal. I'll put the number up for phone call.
Man, I might need to find some alternative headphones here. Go ahead, keep my
I'll put the number up, and mind you, we're having Mercury retrograde problems last 24 hours with this, so this might not even work. Okay, so you come in, give me a fake name, give us a fake name. You'll give us, I'll pull you up on the phone call. You'll have to turn us down wherever you're watching so it doesn't echo. I will pull up your chart with a fake name if you're into it. We'll talk about one thing. It could be something that's related to this week, right? It's Jupiter, Saturn. Or it could be the Gemini part of your chart, let's say, okay? Something like that. And we'll do our best here with this, okay? If you've called before, try to hold off. Put your foot on the gas if you've called me before. Let's see. I'd like to get new people on this because I haven't done this, okay? So Nadia does say here while I set this up, this also makes me think about recognizing the different ways that people in our lives communicate, including ourselves. Sometimes it's not words. It's even if that's a reflex. Whereas, it's all about frequency. That's a good comment, Nadia. Thank you. There's some other questions in chat here, but I'm going to answer them at the end of the stream. Okay, so let's see if I can do this. This better work. I fucking put some time. There's the phone number on the screen, okay? Remember, I'll guide you in the rules. We can only do one, depending on this goes. I know because a bunch of people call at the same time. Okay, so while we wait, Mel, we'll get ready here. And if we do this, we get the info. Should I enter it in my program and put it up the chart like we've been doing?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see if this works. Oh man, it better work. Kind of want to do something right now. I'm going to unplug something, which is making me nervous.
You're playing with fire.
I'm playing with fire there. There's the number up right there. That's right there. That says call now. Then I have another ticker that's like, you better call now.
You better. These aren't threats. These are
call now.
These are just suggestions.
Yeah.
Mila looks like they want to call, but they're letting someone else
call. They know because they've called before. I think that's why. Try calling, I wrote. And I go, you can call at call that
Okay,
number.
Michelle, come on, get your brave Leo out. We don't even see you. And if you called, we didn't even know
Michelle,
it's
this is
you.
when I wish I had some brave Leo in my chart. You got Mars in your chart, regardless where it is.
Yeah, and then you're not even going to give us your real name, so who knows if it's you?
Yeah, you just make it. Yeah. No, I get this all the time. So while we wait, if somebody, I got to watch my phone.
Oh, that's true. Don't miss the call.
Happens all the time. Actually, I might have to put the ringer on so I know if this is gonna work. I ain't pressing nothing else, to be honest. I ain't pressing shit because I'm gonna fuck it up. I'm gonna do some. Oh, here it goes. Here we go.
No.
Hello. This is Sparkles of Gold.
Oh my God, I got through.
You got through. Yes. You turned down whatever you're viewing on. Yes, correct.
Okay, should I like exit out?
No. You're good right now. You're good. I just want to confirm something. Mel, can you hear our caller?
I can.
All right. Caller, what is your name?
My name's Megan.
Megan?
Yeah.
Megan, how are you?
I'm I'm okay. I'm a 19-degree Gemini rising, so it's been a little difficult.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Hold on. Megan, do we have your permission to put your chart info in here and to do this?
Absolutely.
Okay, Megan. What's your birthday?
It's July 2nd, 1979.
Right. Oh, I know who's on the phone. I'm glad you called in.
I know. I had a vibe.
I'm glad you called in.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I think you're doing okay on your end, Megan, with the sound and stuff, correct?
I think so.
Okay. So what's what the time you were born?
4:09 a.m.
What city?
New Brunswick, New Jersey, USA.
Bon Jovi's in my head. I'm sorry. The
Which
boss
song?
is in my head. Why am I?
Which one? Which one you got?
You gotta hold on to
what we've got. It doesn't make a difference if you make it or not.
Not each other.
That's a lot for love. We'll give
Mel,
it a shot.
my crazy idea for astrology conference. We need a bar close to a conference that's got a karaoke bar. It just doesn't. Megan, July 2nd, 1979, 4:09 a.m., New Brunswick, New Jersey. Correct.
Yes.
All right, give me a second here.
You got some.
I think the sound sounds good on your end, though, Mel, isn't it? No feedback.
I think so.
Or anything?
No, I'm not getting any feedback.
The hardest person probably dealing with this is going to be Megan because of the way they have to listen to things.
Yeah.
Sorry, and it's a delay, so you have to kind of pay attention. This is weird, Mel, because. All right, Mel, this is what I want you to do as a test. I'm gonna say nothing.
All right.
Okay. And you talk now.
I am talking now. I'm talking right now.
Can you hear that, Megan?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
All right, good. This is weird what we're doing.
Okay.
All right, so hang in there, Megan. We're almost there. Yeah. All right. And oh yeah. All right, cool. Megan?
Yes.
How can we help you today? What's a certain particular thing you would maybe want to get some insight or focus on?
So I'll try to keep it brief.
Yes.
Like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been going through health issues, and I've been out of work since last October, the eclipse on the 21st or 23rd, whatever. And I want to know if I'm going to continue in my job that I'm holding currently, or if it's time to move on like I think I should. But it's a little bit scary due to, financial and, benefits and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. I'm setting some things up here in the background here, Mel.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to maybe?
Are you? Yeah, I'm taking it in. I'm just thinking. I know. I know. We said that we were just going to focus on like one particular transit. I mean, we can't
Go
ignore
for it,
that.
Mel. Go
We
for it,
can't
Mel.
ignore
Just go
that
for it.
Jupiter and Saturn are essentially angular for you
Yes.
in this.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you're having these questions. Is right. It's timely, and I'm just thinking about. God, I'm just looking ahead to the eclipses that are coming
Yeah.
because we're going to be switching out into angular eclipses for you as well. And there's
Mhm.
this focus on, having the south node in the 10th house and that north node where Saturn is. It's interesting as we talk about Saturn and we're talking about Uranus and coming back to those natal placements for you.
Yeah.
Seeing that's where these stories are culminating and possibly
Yeah.
the end of something and the wrapping up, and you maybe being at, I mean, have you been at home through this sickness or have you been?
Yes.
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 And then the Uranian part of the sickness itself, which can have that, Scorpio fixed like energy, but it seems like it'd be like a rocky road. Like it's kind of has maybe different twists and turns or kind of,
Yeah.
it's not consistent, the ailment itself. Like sometimes it's
No,
this
it's
and sometimes
ever
it's that.
changing.
Yeah. And so is the main concern is, I mean, do you like this is, I don't even know if this is a relevant question, but do you like your job?
I like the energy aspect of, so I'm a massage therapist, but I'm also like I'm also an energy worker,
Okay.
and that's what I really do at work. But people
Got it.
think I'm a massage therapist, but I do like a lot of emotional release work, like energy work, but they don't necessarily know that's what I'm doing. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, it does. I actually know some folks who do the same work that say the same thing as you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much intertwined for certain practitioners, especially ones that are more sensitive and aware and have those talents.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just looking where the energy's going and a very stand back and have a look sort of thing. And especially when we were talking about, I don't know how soon you're thinking about making this decision. How pressed time-wise are you to decide if this is what needs to happen with leaving the job?
I'm feeling that I'm pressed. Like, I think especially when Mercury gets out of retrograde, I think I have to make a decision.
Okay.
And I've been going to I went to the faculty at Oxford for all the 10 semesters for astrology.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, I've been so afraid to like pull that like trigger and just do it.
Yeah.
But like the readings that I've been doing for friends and stuff has been so like psychically attuned that I'm like, why am I not? Right? Like,
Yes.
why am
What
I
am
not
I
doing this?
afraid of? It makes me think
Like,
of your
no.
ascendant there, because that ascendant, and then where we're having the Jupiter Mars action right now and the tension to the square to Saturn in tarot, that's the card of the Nine of Swords,
Yeah.
which is, in our deck, we call it anguish.
Right.
And it is where the fears or the worst case scenarios or that anxiety that comes up of, how could this possibly go wrong? Like if I made this
Right.
move, what, you can think of all the potentials for it not to go in your direction. But let
Yeah.
us not forget that, remember when we looked at the chart for June 15th of next year? Where is this last square happening? Jupiter exalted in your second house, getting closer to your sun. So
Right on.
this money component, even though, there's, and money might, I mean, do you feel like money is always sort of an interesting, a wax or wane energy in your life, having it ruled by the moon?
Yeah, and I've got also Chiron and Taurus, and like the
Yeah.
moon ruling the second, so it's
Yes.
but there's still the face, right? Like there's still that face.
No,
there.
but recognizing that that's sort of a component in your chart, that money and I mean resources in general might have sort of that wax and wane quality. I don't want to say feast or famine, because that doesn't necessarily have to be what it is, but
Now it pretty much is, yeah.
okay, you're like, no, that's
It is, yeah.
and so, and maybe that's part of this as you go through this change, that feels inevitable, because sometimes, you know, our bodies don't lie. Like there could be a
Yeah.
part of this that especially since you're an energy worker, do you feel like maybe part of this change that's happening is not just as basic as I have this, you know, ailment that I'm dealing with, and
Oh
I
yeah,
have this job,
no. Yeah,
like
I know it's my like my Pluto and Libra conjunct the moon. Like I've got like all of a sudden these major back issues, and I know that's because of, you know, a support system, and
yes,
it goes
so
on.
exactly.
So yeah.
So I guess, and when we come back to something we talked about earlier today too, this, like, you know, faith and trust, it being a component of what we need to lean into in order to make and adapt to these changes happening. I mean, Nicholas, I don't want to hog the whole time
That's
talking,
okay.
but did you
I'm
want?
listening. I'm listening.
I'm listening. That's kind of what I'm thinking as is that Venus there on the ascendant? I can't see.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that. Yeah, I mean, I am always the one. Nicholas and I were talking on the phone the other day about how we're both always the one to like push people, not push like, oh, you're gonna do this, but you know,
Of course.
like
Trick you.
entertain, you know, entertain, like, yeah, maybe you could do this, or this is oh, this isn't working anymore, and you're scared to leave. There's fear around it, but how about taking the leap?
Right.
So
Hey,
yeah,
Mel,
go ahead.
what was the card that you referenced from your deck again? Which one was it?
The nine of it would be the 9 of leaves.
Okay,
Anguish.
I'm almost there. Give me a second.
Do you have them in order?
I'm looking at sort of not. Oh, I got it right here. I'm gonna do something here really quick. I'm gonna switch up so people can see this. Where the hell is my
Wake
cursor?
Me From This brought up something that it definitely needs to be touched on. Is that they're in a 10th house perfection year. As I just entered that area myself, we're very close
we're there
in time. And yeah, it's a big thing. This is where the meat and this oh, is it, there it is. So there's the card for the 9 of leaves. I don't know if you probably can't see it right now if you're listening to us, but
yeah,
you can see
catch
it
on the
later.
stream later. You'll be able to go back.
It's basically a woman with her hand up to the sky, and she's laying on a bed of cactus, and a wolf is or like a coyote wolf is pushing her down into the spikes. And she's petitioning Mars up in the sky. And so you know, Mars is where we get our courage and our bravery. And sometimes, as you might know, with a Mars in air, like like me, and Nicholas has a Mars in air too. It's so easy to think things rather than do them. You know.
Megan, how you doing? I mean,
I'm
this moment here with all this, you just checking in on you. How you doing?
Yeah, no, I feel, you know what I needed tonight, and I think I got it. I needed some validation and like just some courage, right? I mean, my Mars is right there, like, but it's in the 12th, so it's like, but it's being hit by Jupiter, so it's like, okay, like, can we do this? And all the Leo energy is like, do it, do it, do it. So just the heart validation of the next mindful actions, I think, is what brought me here.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. And it's something, you know, Megan, I know Mel would agree with this. A lot of times with reading, a lot of types of stuff, it's about one of the most basic human tenets. You know, we do all walk alone in this universe. We do. We that's what it is, but that's half the story. The other thing is just basic mirroring and acknowledgement and confirmation.
Yeah.
And you know, and that's all it is sometimes, a lot of the times. You know, so what you said, you know, that's what comes up for me. And I'm glad that you called, you know, that you know, in a sense you were called to take this step. It's weird, right? Calling up.
Yeah.
I know you got to listen to the background, there's a delay, everything, right? So you know, it's a thing though where I honor that you've taken the step and you're, you know, looking for some insight. But like you said, I just need to be, you just need to say something, you know. And
Yeah.
And well, and I want to say two more things just because, you know, I had more time to look at the chart. Number one, we've been talking about the mind this whole time, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here, you know, you with that Mercury Jupiter conjunction in Leo, we've talked about Leo this whole time
Right.
too. And what
Right.
does Leo need? What does Leo need but needs to get from itself, but it tends to get from others is a validation. And this is where you're part of making this change is about the mind having the courage to be like, especially as a Gemini rising. And look, I mean, Nicholas, look at her midheaven. It's the full moon. It's the
yeah,
full
no, the
moon.
full moon's
It's squaring.
happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
Full
you're
moon's happening there.
yeah, you're under the
there's-
spotlight. You're
yeah,
on
there's
the
a bunch of
spotlight.
other things, by the way, that I see, whatever. But I think if you want to hear something, Megan, I could tell one more thing from my brain if you're up for it. Yeah,
I'm up.
You know, I think anybody with mutable angles, in the sense you have the angles in your midheavens fixed there, but a lot of times there's a lot of stuff that we've talked about today of how far can one go, how much you can juggle and all that. But someone mentioned in the chat here, wake me from this, about you're having a 10th house perfection year. And basically that's saying that, you know, your 10th house of focus and recognition and what you stand upon, what you're the authority on, is in play for your whole year until the birthday comes, right? And you know, there's a couple things in play, like the planet Jupiter, and where Jupiter is in your chart and where Jupiter is in Gemini right now, and those are affecting the angles of your chart right now, like Mel mentioned here. And the big first thing that came up when Mel was talking to you, it actually had to do with boundaries, because when you said I'm a massage therapist, but then you said what you really did. And what was that, Megan? Can you say it one more time? What you really do?
What I really do is energy work, and I help people release emotional trauma. That's what I do.
Yep. And that is more than one job, quote unquote. That is something more. So for me, looking at what's going on, Mel mentioned the eclipses are going to be coming up in the top and bottom of your chart, home and career, right? You have these things we're talking about. To me, it's a boundary thing, as in, like, how much can you do? How much can you serve? You know, and knowing your limits. And because usually when we get past our limits, or we go in the energy worker field or holding space world, we crash and burn. We in our brains and our body, physically, health, at all types of places, in the rejuvenation process. And do we ever catch up with something like that?
Right.
You know, so there's the bigger picture part of things. But as the old adage goes for us in modern times as energy workers, you only can do so much for people. I mean, you have to take care of yourself, right? And you can do your best work when you're rooted and rejuvenated.
Yeah.
And it's also clarity of career, of who you are, where you're going to go, and all the other facets of one's life. But it gets really simple when you're dealing with illness, you know? It's priorities. The priority list gets really short and really simple, you know? So, you know, for me, whatever it takes for you, Megan, to make a safe container and boundaries when it deals with your energy. I have no doubt that looking at your chart, you have an amazing gifts facilitating and standing with people and helping them move through things, right?
Yeah.
you know, so you're always going to do it, right?
Yeah.
Here with Jupiter, Saturn, and the things that we're talking about, it's going through a redefinition process, and it's knowing your limits, and that's the chapter to concentrate, my opinion, right, on is the bigger picture, and it's always going to be there. But first, it's about, you know, whatever it takes to make you feel better, you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so wonderful. Thank you both for talking to me and helping me tonight. I really appreciate your compassion and sincerity. So thank you.
Megan,
You're welcome.
you're welcome, and thank you for coming on. And you know, honestly, we talked so many hours about transits and all this stuff, but you know, personally, I'm speaking for myself. The reason why I do what I do is for an interaction that we just had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, all right. I'm gonna cry. I'm a Cancer.
I know. I feel you. I'm like, I'm gonna cry over here. Yeah. I
Well,
back
thank
that.
you both. I appreciate you, and I'm forever indebted. So if you ever need anything from me, you just let me know.
That's a total
Yeah.
Pisces in 10th house. It's like
I'm
you're just
forever
a healthy
indebted.
faith, and they're wanting to do something for us, and I'm like, that's cool, I get you, girl, but you're
Great.
But now you don't have to do anything.
yeah,
You
you
can
don't have to do
just you don't
nothing.
have to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Best of luck to you. I hope your body heals and you get on the path that feels right and good, and then all will align.
Oh, thank you guys. I love you from my heart. So thank you so much. And yeah, that was amazing. Okay, I'm gonna go before I start weeping.
Thanks
Right.
for
All right, you
thanks,
take
Megan.
care.
See ya.
Bye, Megan.
Oh, take care. Bye.
Bye. Well, that was fun. I'm
Yeah, no, it was good.
That's what makes me what you were saying. I'm gonna double down on what Sparkles was saying here. It's like that's what makes doing what we do the best part of doing what we do is that exact thing, that interaction. It's everything.
I just yeah, there's times I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want it.
I know. And then you connect with someone and you're like, this is why.
I just, I think it's human to do this, but I see, for me, when I get to that place of like, I know that's coming, like, oh, I don't want to do this. I'm like, break time. I'm taking a week and a half to, it's just knowing the art of it. Because you never, and see, the problem is these days with everybody, whether it's Megan, we don't know her practice, like how many days a week she needs to work to pay the bills, all that. She's not feeling well, but it's like people deal with this all the time in Western culture because of the economics and the rift that's happening between the rich, and now everyone's middle class is gone poor. It's like people can't take care of themselves the way they instinctually or intuitively know how, because they still have to go grind at work.
Yeah.
And things happen, and that's life, right? Still pisses me off. I still, fight for the situations for people to try to figure out how to manage. And again, however we can be there with each other, right? To support this story. Friends, family, community groups, your pal, your lovers, whatever. It's like, it's so fundamental, more than ever. Because someone's they're trying to do right, and they're trying to do right. We got somebody on the phone who probably can see wounds in people immediately and cannot help but like, let me help you out. I could see it. Let me help you out. Right. So it's one of those things, but we got to deal with these other realities that get in our way. And that's the struggle, so it's a thing where, anyway, more power to Megan.
Yes. 100%.
And and again, to recognize who you're watching out there, you're holding space, you do type of stuff. Remember to take a steps back, to keep things simple, especially with transits that we're having this week and right now, the overload. And again, chill is good.
Chill is good. Chill is good for right now, especially right now as we wrap up the Mercury retrograde, as we still have I feel like there's much of our lives that have this messy quality to it right now, for lack of better words. And really,
Yeah.
I feel once Mercury moves back into Virgo, then everything that we're wrestling with right now and these bigger decisions, and even what Megan was saying, like I need to probably make this decision, once Mercury stations and goes direct here, there will be some sense of order, I think, in September, which will lead us into the eclipses, which will lead us into the first. And let us not forget how impactful the first eclipse in an new eclipse series is. I mean, think back when we had what was it 2020 or 2021, when we had the first eclipse in the Scorpio Taurus aspect.
Yeah, so when I was mentioning earlier that
Yeah.
is keep going because now I'm gonna
Yeah.
need to look it up.
Well, I'm just saying that this is another transition point that will segue a whole new story. And so when we're at these crucial turning points, and even what Megan was describing in her own life and experiencing, it's only par for the course. So we're all being led somewhere, and right now is that interesting goo-like limbo-y, I'm in it, but what do I do? I still need more. And it's as cliche as it sounds, right where we need to be, because by September, late September, early October, that's when things be going.
Yeah, but let's not go here, but this is the date. It's November 19th, 2021 was the lunar eclipse when the nodal cycle was happening. Hold on a second.
Look at the degrees. It's the exact fixed cross to our
it's
upcoming full moon.
Sorry, I got this thing here, but yeah, there it is right there. The 27, there's the eclipse, and it's the place. And that's why I mentioned this earlier.
It's Mercury right there. You drew on it, but I can't see it.
Mercury is Scorpio 21.
Oh, 21. Okay.
Yeah, but it's we have a major connection to to this point that we're dealing with right now. So hold on a second.
Like Kay Michelle said, you guys even have my almost 13-year-old wanting me to call about his chart. You guys are inspirational to all ages.
I would do another call, but an hour and a half more than I thought we were going to do.
I think I might be wrong, but perhaps Sparkles, this is an invitation to do it again.
Yeah, no. Mel's good. I mean, Mel, here, hold on a second. It was good. We talked about doing stuff, streams and stuff like this. So, I mean, for no planning really,
no
notes. We went really long, but it's all good. Am I going to chapter mark this whole thing? It's going to take me a couple days, even if I attempt to. Anybody
you
watching
can always you do a couple. Just do a couple,
yeah,
and then you can just add as they.
I do a couple. Sometimes people they'll comment in the comments at the time they were watching something, and it helps. But it's gonna take my time. Plus I got to work on other stuff after this. Like I think about my next 48 hours, what I have to do and what I want to do because of other things. I'm like, am I gonna have time to do chapters? So, but anyway, Mel, yeah, no, I think it went well today.
Yeah, I feel like we're rivaling Gray and I's year ahead videos. Oh, really? I mean, usually those are like 4 hours long, and those are the longest videos that I've ever done.
Yeah, no, it's I hold on a second. I'm looking for something. There he is. That's what I'm looking for. I'm gonna drop something in the chat right here because
it's 333 right now.
Oh, it is. Oh, you're one of those, huh?
Oh,
you're one of those.
Wrapping up at the good moment. What you dropping in the chat?
I'm dropping a link in chat.
Oh,
for those who someone asked earlier about the cards, and these are Mel's cards. It's Tarot of Her. That's the site. But as you said earlier, Mel, you're
so literally. I mean, they're with perfect decks. There's only like 5 decks left. we're almost sold out. We're very close to selling out. I am going to put up a couple decks. When those sell out, I'm going to put up a couple bumped and bruised decks for a little bit cheaper. Some that had some box issues. So there will be a few more opportunities there. But all in all, we have less than, less than 15 decks left to sell before it's gone. So if anybody was interested in it, now would probably be the time to.
Yeah, not that we're trying to do a hard sell, but knowing something you told me a while ago or whatever, that somebody else might publicly talk about this deck, that if they do that, there isn't going to be any decks. there isn't, you know. So anyway, there's your pal Sarah who did all the artwork. Man,
Yes.
She's amazing stuff.
So amazing. We've been friends for, oh gosh, man, we've almost known each other for 20 years now. We've been talking about doing this for 10 years. We finally done it. Finally did it.
Yeah.
And we'll do another second edition. We'll do another Kickstarter. But of course, you know, all that takes time. But it's a round deck. And I devised a system to read them with the lunar phases. So depending on how it lands, adds nuance to, you know, based on lunar information. And I wrote a 210-page full color guidebook that people have been very excited about. And so, yeah, it's a nice little package of Tarot of Her. Yeah, K Michelle, there will be more decks in the second edition that'll be slightly different than this. It'll probably have different nuances. But we might not even kickstart to that until maybe the beginning of next year. So it'd be.
You check this Three of Leaves card. It's awesome. Look at the Saturn bracelet with the Saturn and Libra bracelet.
Yeah.
That's wild. It's awesome.
Yeah. So that's our baby. That's our joint baby. And I mean, I'm having my Jupiter Saturn square in the 8th house and the 5th house. So here we're collaborating. Nicholas and I are collaborating, but also Sarah Jane and I, and we're creatively collaborating.
It's just good. I'm glad it flowed there. What else? Okay, listen. Let me do this. I will just do some quick promos because should we do this? This is your website, right? People can get a session for you. You not just do astrology or a tarot practitioner. Energetic Principles, right?
Yes, energeticprinciples.com. That's me. And I'm on YouTube. If you are, you can come subscribe to my channel if you like. I've been doing a podcast since 2018. Right now it's on a little bit of a hiatus because I'm reinventing, right? Mercury retrograde's in my 10th house. And so I'm reinventing the podcast. So nothing up. This is my podcast for Leo season right now here with Nicholas.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to tell people right now. Okay. Here it is. Right. Oh, look at, by the way, you're live.
I am live. Look at that. See?
You have currently 876 subscribers, Mel, and is in YouTube land, the magic number is 1,000. And there's many reasons for this. So anybody watching, please go subscribe to her channel. Help her get to 1,000. It's a milestone in YouTube land. And you're really close.
I'm so close.
You're so close. So so there's that. There's you could see, you had Spencer Michaud for cancer. There's well, there's one where Nicholas and I and Elodie Saint Angebou did a Pluto and Aquarius episode. There it is, up a little bit. Where'd you see it?
Go up.
Oh, there, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a good one. If anybody wants to had a whole slideshow for that and everything. We got in there.
I'm in my old place right there. That's my old
we have
place.
a very special episode. Yeah.
That's my old. So glad I'm out of there. So yeah, there's Elodie, and and that's a whole nother kind of video to talk about. Maybe we could figure something out with Elodie one day.
We want to do a reprise.
Yeah. Okay, so all of you out there, I'm going to give you a heads up on my world. I think I opened my books up for the end of the month. I'm redoing my newsletter possibly. Patreon yesterday sent a huge email out to everybody about the Apple tax. Now, here's the thing for you should know. There's a lot of weird things going on in the mail newsletter donation world of people donating through YouTube, like the super chats, to Patreon. If you do it through the Apple app, they're taking a huge cut out, like 30%. It's wild. So I have a feeling here there's going to be some maneuvering that many creators are going to do. I am in the place of trying to understand in Patreon, because I'm not the best Patreon grower of things, even though I'm attempting to do that right now. I have my channel memberships. It could change, but it's something that I'm pondering. Where does it really flow for me, and where does community can be built is what's on my mind. I'm not making any decisions, but it goes in to what I was talking about earlier with transits. I'm working on a couple videos, but I don't know if I can get them out on time because I have to make sure I eat and take care of myself. What's the other thing? Right before we went live, I guess I should show this. Right before we went live, I saw something pop up on my feed, and where the hell is it? I'll just put it. I did a video with Stormie Grace last week that was recorded. And I'll share this screen. She didn't tell me when you're going to do this, but it came up today. You could see it there.
You'll never make money.
Well, there's an ad.
Always ad.
Let me tell you something here. Basically, in the last week and a half, most people on the internet who are smart have been using uBlock Origin on their browsers to get rid of ads and watch YouTube without ads. Okay, I shouldn't be a proponent of this because, they want to encourage people to get YouTube Premium, so you skip the ads. And people who use YouTube Premium, they're coming to my channel. I'm supposed to, if I turn on ad monetization, I get money. You haven't noticed I haven't turned on ads on my videos, okay? Maybe when I have 1 million viewers, okay? So I'm going to get through this ad.
I just working
and let it go. And so that's a big controversy going on in the internet world, is because now when you have a Chrome browser, they completely banned uBlock Origin from blocking ads on there. And there's a mass exodus happening from Chrome browser into Firefox. Interesting stuff that's happening. I'm going to skip the ad, but you could see here that we did a video recently about Mars and Cancer. We just a free flow. We did pretty good, 36, 37 minutes. Mel, she got Mercury and Gemini. So we can go,
That's amazing.
So that's going to be officially published. It's on my community tab. You can find it. I'm just doing some promo as for whatever. Okay. So that's what's up. Thanks for hanging with us on a definite Mars, Jupiter, and Gemini.
Hey, we're doing Mars Jupiter here today,
Mercurial
right?
Bed. People are gonna see this come on a timeline on the YouTube page, subscription page, and you're like 3 hours and 40 minutes. Like, I ain't gonna watch that, but that's how it goes. I'm surprised we've hold 50 to 60 people the whole time, Mel. And honestly, in YouTube land with live streaming, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm honored that people want to spend their time with us as we riff about God knows what. I mean, what have we even Mercury, right? What have we even talked about?
I don't remember.
What have we even said?
I don't remember.
People be like, you remember when you said that? Yeah, and I'm like, no, I don't remember when I said that. But
I don't remember anything. I don't know what the hell. I just can't wait. I'm gonna eat, take care of emails. I gotta put together a newsletter for ESAR. I do every Wednesday night for their newsletter to go out, and I'm gonna play a video game. That's what I'm gonna do. So
I got it all planned out.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody in chat today. I see Eve Alta, Stephanie King, Jendi, Wild Magi, all of you. For the new people who came in and wondering who the hell we are, my name is Nicholas. This is Mel. We're both astrologers, we're both practitioners. Subscribe to our channels. Really, Mandy Bailey, being so nice, wrote that you have 879 subscribers now. Mel, they subscribe. So
thank you.
that's very sweet.
I am so grateful.
So just saying that, everybody else who came in who I didn't acknowledge you, Roof Frog, I see you in there earlier. Mila, a lot of people, and there's always people that are watching that never do chat. You know me. I always look at you and I acknowledge you and I thank you because they are my peeping toms. They are my voyeurs. They are the ones probably doing other things while
Yes.
they're listening to
Yep.
this, which is very mutable. So Tara's in the chat. I see you, Megan. All of you, thank you for going with us on this mutable free flow. All right.
Yeah. Gosh. I mean, it's hard to say goodbye. It's
That's
so
another song.
hard
Yeah.
to say goodbye
Boys to Men.
yesterday.
Boys to Men. Nadia. All right, let me see if I can do what I normally. This is different software. One day I'm going to just use my pure software and not use this, but I think we figured it out. So, Mel, I'll talk to you some other soon.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't you forget about me.
I was about to say what grade I was in when that came out, but I'm not going to date myself right now.
All right, lead us out, Hermes.
Breakfast Club. Yeah. Let's see if this works. This lead out. Oh, it does. It's going to work.
Goodbye.
Yes. Wait a second. Say that. Yeah. Do it, Mel.
Goodbye. Thank you for tuning in. May you all be blessed. Blessed.
I'm extremely fortunate because for everything that I deal with and the mess of, not some messy world, but you know, my challenges, I get to do these streams, have a good pal like Mel come on in here. And I got all of you. Yeah.
We're blessed. We're all blessed.
Yeah, we're all blessed, Mel. People coming in on a stream and hanging out. Got super chats. Thank you for those who donated. I feel pretty good.
I feel great.
Yeah. I wish the best for everybody this week is surfing and managing transits, and I just for the observance of it all. Hell, it's a big ass, incredible wonder of things. The way this planet is, but when we're following astrology and myth and archetype and symbolism, that's the deepest thing we have. You know, is story and meaning. So glad you were able to share that with us on the stream. So until next time,
may the stars be with you.
I love that you did that because that's your thing, Mel. Do it one more time. Say it.
May the stars be with you.
See you, everybody.